How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Irish Whiskey Night. How are you getting on? It's the hottest day of the year. What better day to crack into some bottles of whiskey to cool us down? You're very welcome to another live tasting and a chance to meet the people behind the pours. Let us know where you're joining from in the comments. My name is Barry Chandler. I'm the host of 3 Drams. And over the next 18 or 19 hours, we're going to sip on a number of great whiskies and chat to the people behind those pours. So we're going to have a bit of crack tonight. A lot of people probably at the beach, lying out in the back garden, making the most of the sun. It isn't often we have it. And I don't blame anybody for doing it. If you're catching this on the replay on a rainy day, I hope you enjoyed the sun. We're going to taste our way around Ireland this evening with our 3 great whiskies. So do let us know where you're joining from and what's in your glass. If you have our 3 Drams tasting kit with the 3 whiskies that we've shipped out this month, fair play to you. We'll taste these and you'll get to sip along as you learn about these whiskies from our makers. If you don't have the 3 Drams tasting kit and you just have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a bottle of something you pulled off your shelf, welcome. You don't care what's in your glass as long as you're here and enjoying yourself. We'll have a bit of crack tonight. Beautiful day in Cape Cod. Good man, Tom. He's got a Redbreast PX in the glass. Great stuff. Rochester, New York, 66 degrees Fahrenheit and raining. Irish weather in New York. God help us. Up in upstate New York. Alan Quinn over there in the Shannon region. You say water's whiskey's friend. And this heat, if I had water, it'll end up being a posh, hot whiskey. Mighty day for walking around with the shirt off outside. Not a mighty day for drinking 40 to 43% proof alcohol. But you listen, we're troopers. We'll crack on with it. No fear of us. We have a great tasting lined up tonight and we have a great special guest at the end of it. So this evening, here are the 3 whiskies we'll be tasting this evening. We've got the Mad Marquess from Curramore Irish Whiskey, Curramore House in Waterford. We've got Black's Distillery, who have Black's Brewing and Distilling, who've got an 8-year-old single malt that has been part matured in a rocket ship IPA cask. And we'll be joined by Richard Tyrone from Mad Marquess. We'll be joined by Sam Black from Black's Brewing and Distilling. And then we've got Boann Legacy, a brand new core range single pot still from the team at Boann that was just released in the last few days. We have Peter Cooney, who's on his holidays in the Algarve. He went off the Algarve looking for a bit of sun and he had it here in Ireland. He'll be joining us to chat about his newest release from Boann Distillery in County Meath. And then we'll be joined by the co-founder of Irish Whiskey Auctions, Ireland's largest whiskey auction platform, Anthony Sheehy, to chat all things Irish whiskey, hunting, pursuing, chasing, how to find the rare bottles, the out-of-production bottles, or the one you missed when they were released a few years ago. Anthony's going to talk to us about everything related to Irish whiskey. So we'll have a good old night chatting about auctions and chatting about how these 3 whiskies are made. The Whiskey Brew has got the yellow spot ready to go. Good man, you were chatting to me on TikTok earlier that you said you'd have it ready, and fair play to you. You have it. Fair play. So the idea tonight is quite simple. We are going to move through each of these 3 whiskies. We're going to go around the country, starting in Waterford, then going west to West Cork, Kinsale. Can we call it Kinsale, West Cork? I think we can. And then we'll be heading up to Meath to Boann Distillery. It's a night where we want to have a bit of crack. There's often great crack in the comments. We want to meet the people who make the whiskies, ask them any questions we have now that we've got them here, ask them about future releases, about things that are going on in their brands, their distilleries, their brand homes, and learn from each other and learn from the makers. It's a great way to learn, honestly, about Irish whiskey. It's a complicated old topic. And what I'm hearing over and over again is that there are things that get learned or understood on nights like this that you'd never find out if you were just walking down the aisle of SuperValu and you see a nicely coloured label on a bottle of whiskey. So it's great to hear from the people who make the whiskies and have an old chat with them as well and put faces to the names. We'll be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes with Richard Tyrone, Earl of Tyrone, who will be joining us to talk about Mad Marquess Irish whiskey. If you're new here, this is a pretentious free zone. There's no stupid questions about whiskey. We're all on a journey learning, and some know more than others, and we'd like to share with those who know less than us and help each other along. Whiskey doesn't really have rules. It just has preferences. So whatever way you like to drink your whiskey, whether it's in a bucket, out of a bucket or a boot or with ice or with Red Bull or Coke, rock on. You're all welcome here. You're all very welcome here. While we're waiting for Richard to join us to talk about Mad Marquess, it's a big week for Irish whiskey because just yesterday it was announced by the Irish government that there is a public consultation has opened up for the expansion and the evolution of the Irish Whiskey Technical File. And the Irish Whiskey Technical File is the document that governs how Irish whiskey can be made, produced, marketed, sold. And starting tomorrow morning on the Department of Fisheries, Agriculture, Marine website, there will be an open consultation for 10 weeks, allowing the public to weigh in on new proposals that will expand the permutations on how we make single pot still whiskey, for example. There'll be proposals on where grain can come from. There'll be proposals on types of stills that can be used. There'll be proposals on single grain whiskey and the percentage of malt that can be used in single grain. So there'll be lots of proposals that'll be published on the government website tomorrow. And the idea being that the Irish Whiskey Technical File as it stands today represents an Irish whiskey industry that no longer exists, because when it was written, there were only a handful of distilleries really on the island. Today, there are 50 or so distilleries and whiskey bonders and marketers and merchants, and it's a very different landscape. And so the idea that was proposed more than 5 years ago by industry groups was to be able to both protect the future of Irish whiskey through its definitions, but also tie the definitions of Irish whiskey to its real and legitimate past and its history. And today, some of the definitions don't allow us to connect to how Irish whiskey used to be made. And I think these new proposals will address that. So it's a big day or a big week in the world of Irish whiskey for a lot of people who've worked very hard over the last 4 or 5 years in putting something through the very, very arduous process of the civil service, government, and eventually it'll land with the EU and become codified in law. So over the next year, it might move from where it is today, a set of proposals, which we'll learn more about tomorrow, to be a new technical file that will protect, preserve, and help us grow the Irish whiskey category. So that's the big news in the world of Irish whiskey this week. The other little bit of news, not a little bit, is that Bacardi is now the 100% owner of Teeling Irish Whiskey and the distillery. They were a 70% shareholder up until this month. They've been increasing their share over the last 10 years or so, and now they are complete owners of Teeling. So that's a big success for the Teeling family, who the brothers, Jack and Stephen, will continue to work on the brand and promote their family named brand. But Bacardi are now the sole owners of Teeling. So that's interesting. All right. Where else have we got folks joining from? Fort Myers. We got Fort Myers joining us there. Mike is joining us, sipping a Boan PX. Great stuff. And Maura is joining us from the Sticks in sunny Connecticut. Great to see you, Maura. Hope you're well. Smuggling Nun Puccine Maura there. All right, let's go east from Cork to Waterford and bring on Richard Tyrone. Richard, how are you getting on? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Not too bad, Barry. Thanks for having us. It's been a hot day here in the sunny southeast.
There was bits of my house expanding and cracking, I think. There was noises of expansions that no part of the house was ever built for the temperatures we saw today, I think.
Yeah, and like I said a little bit earlier too, it's about time for a nice, refreshing whiskey cocktail.
Right on cue. Richard, you're here to talk about Mad Marquess Irish Whiskey. Before we get into the details of that, which is dram number 1 in our kit, so the one on the far left of your box, this Mad Marquess Irish Whiskey, I wonder, could you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and what got you to Mad Marquess Whiskey today?
Yes, so my name's Richard, the Earl of Tyrone. I'm co-founder of Curramore Whiskey alongside my parents, the Marks of Waterford and Marchioness of Waterford. My family have been living at Curramore Estate, which is based between Portlaw and Carrick-on-Shore in County Waterford. It has unique history, Curramore, in the fact that it's the oldest family home in Ireland. My family have lived here since 1167. Our original ancestor, who was Norman and sailed the sea with the famous Viking warrior Strongbow into Waterford City. Robert de Pur, an in-string, for those who know a little bit about Waterford. We have a lot of Powers in Waterford, a lot of people with the surname Power. And that originates from Norman ancestry, like my family, who would have sailed the Irish Sea at one point after invading England, and then moving into the south of Ireland, in particular Waterford City. And we've been here ever since. We're very blessed. It's a very beautiful area to live in. On one side, we have the Coomera Mountains. We have the coast 25 minutes away. And then we also have on the other side of the hill, the beautiful River Shore that runs in to Waterford City. And as a lot of you know, past Waterford Distillery. So we're very blessed where we live. And on top of that, we're an incredible climate to grow malting barley. I know that's something that Waterford Distillery would have promoted very heavily over the years, but it really is true. We're blessed with fertile, loamy soils, and because we're close to the coast, we get quite temperate climates, bursts of heat even throughout the winter. What's fascinating here is it could be 2 degrees one day in the morning, and by mid-afternoon in the middle of January, it could be 12 degrees. So it's quite a heat fluctuation. So going into the spring, when we sow our barley, we get the perfect climate to grow very high-grade raw materials. We had a number. We're not from a spirit background, that our family. We've essentially been farmers for generations. But we had a number of whiskey companies approach us looking to build distilleries on our site. We're also very blessed with some beautiful old buildings with incredible architecture, with a lot of history behind them. And those meetings sort of made us realize, hang on a second, we have something here. We have an incredible, authentic family story tied to one bit of land in the southeast of Ireland, and an incredible production opportunity in the fact that we can grow very large quantities of malting barley that is perfect for either brewing or distilling. So we met in 2016. We got introduced to John Teeling Senior, and John has been very supportive of the project over the years and guided us. We've become a client of his. We still are. We're also producing this year our single estate whiskey. So that means we only use grain grown on the farm. We malt with Garrett Malt in County Kildare, and alongside Noel Sweeney, who advises us, he's a consultant who advises us on all production and maturation techniques and all bottlings. So we're very lucky. Nothing goes into one of our Curramore bottles unless Noel has put his stamp on it. He selected a number of barrels for our initial releases. Our 2025 release was a triple cask product, a combination of a 500-litre ex Oloroso, but Willett Distillery Kentucky bourbon cask, and a 100-litre lightly toasted version French oak cask. It's a pot still whiskey, the traditional style. We want to stick to our Irish heritage. We believe pot still is the prestige category in Irish liquids, whiskey liquids. And this whiskey is an 8-year-old, non-age statement. When we hit 12 years old, we'll probably start doing age statements, but we're sort of wary until then because, I think we believe that a lot of consumers are probably very driven by the number on the bottle. I'd encourage you all to try and get hold of a drop and taste it. It's a beautiful whiskey, lovely tropical fruit flavors, that creamy texture from the oats that we put in the mash bill. We grow the oats here on Curramore Estate. Very high quality, beautiful Isabel oats that add a lovely creamy texture. And yeah, we're excited about the brand and moving forward. But that's a prestige whiskey we're doing in limited amounts, Barry. And as a young business, we have cash flow demands. It's been a very interesting, fascinating entrepreneurial journey for me, being the founder and CEO of this business. We've learned a lot. But we sort of believe that for the branding opportunities we have with Curramore, we have a great prestige branding opportunity. And with the Mad Marquis, which is an authentic, true story, we have a great entry-level branding opportunity. So just to tell you a little bit about the Mad Marquis, he was one of my ancestors. He was the third Marquis of Waterford. He was born in Curramore House, lived there his whole life. And he was known for being quite a mischievous devil, as one would say. hence he acquired the nickname the Mad Marquis. And anyway, we've always spoken about this as a family, but I don't think anyone knows where the phrase "painting the town red" actually comes from. It comes from a scenario in 1837. The Mad Marquis was with some friends, actually in Leicestershire in England, just outside a town called Melton Mowbray. He went racing. He loved horse racing. He went to watch racing at Croxton Park. Obviously had a jolly day with maybe a few drams along the way. And he ended up going into town with his friends into Melton Mowbray, upon where he saw a pot of red paint. And he thought, in the true classic Mad Marquis style, it'd be very entertaining to start trying to paint not only his friends red, but doors, signs, other buildings. I think a toll gatekeeper might have got a bit of a painting as well. And obviously, one cannot do that. It's against the law. They got in trouble for public property, and I think the press got hold of it. And the title in the local newspaper was "The Mad Marquis Paints the Town Red," and that's where the phrase comes from.
That's unbelievable. Like how that ties back to Ireland and now to whiskey. Everything finds its way back to Ireland, connected somehow.
Yeah. And we just thought, this is a fun brand. It's an opportunity to bring back a fun environment around Irish whiskey. We really have designed this, and again, Noel has been a big part of choosing the blend, which is a very simple blend. It really is. I won't give away our secrets, but I think those who know whiskey liquids could probably guess. The majority of it is grain. It's Great Northern Distillery grain, and we believe it's a fantastic mixing whiskey. It is mellow, it's light, it's only matured in ex-bourbon barrels. It has no real edge to it. So I think for the entry and for the new entrant into the category who's starting to experiment whiskey for the first time, this is a smooth, light option. It's not going to put someone off, and it also mixes fantastic into cocktails. For us as a business, we need to drive volume, and I think the cocktails is a big opportunity for that. So we have come up with a number of different cocktails. We work with a number of different accounts in Waterford. The Mad Marquis is now in 5 markets globally: Brisbane, Australia; London, UK; Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It is West Palm Beach, Florida; Nashville, Tennessee; and of course Waterford. So our main focus really in Ireland has been Waterford, rolling it out and trying to really establish ourselves as a local brand. We've been doing a number of fun activations where we like to create a bit of a party, some fantastic music with great cocktails, and a bit of crack along with it. We've also recently collabed with a new mixer brand called 3 Cents. We love these mixers because they have very natural flavors. This is the ginger beer, which is the cocktail I have here in front of me. If you like that ginger kick, has a lot of ginger in it. It's not overly sweet, and very refreshing.
So you think this is the best whiskey for going straight into cocktails, introduction to whiskey, refreshing drink on a 30-degree day like today. Fill the glass with ice, Mad Marquis, ginger beer, cranberry.
100%.
That's the approach.
It is, I think, for the regular sort of drinkers that like to invest in maybe a price point whiskey, 30 euros or below. So we are 30 euros, 29.99 on shelf. It is great with a nice ice cube, neat, and works well in any simple mixer cocktails. This is our signature cocktail, Paint the Town Red. This is either ginger ale, ginger beer, and a drop of cranberry juice. Sweeter, more refreshing, and I quite enjoy it, and it's quite fun. So it's got the color red.
We couldn't fit cranberry and ginger beer into the tasting kits, folks. You're going to have to buy those yourselves. That's on you.
Yeah.
We can over-intellectualize whiskey sometimes, can't we? To think that we must all be sitting around with our nose deep into a snifter, appreciating every nuance, when sometimes we just want to chill out and have a nice drink and feel a little bit happy.
Totally. Like we built the business around trying to develop a world-class whiskey in Curramore. So we went down that line, but we sort of realized that, and actually we were very lucky, Barry, to do a process with Bord Beer, who've been a fantastic support of ours. And as to like the majority of the Irish whiskey companies, I highly recommend anyone who has an export business to contact Bord Beer. But so we did a process where we went to define our consumer for Curramore. So that really, made us realize that it was quite actually a narrow group of people that would invest that sort of money into, an expensive whiskey like that. So to really drive the business, we needed more of a volume play. And the volume play isn't really the highly educated whiskey drinker. It's someone who wants to experiment, is interested in it. They're the drinker who wants to go into a bar and have something refreshing. It's something simple. And that's why we've come up with this concept. And it seems to be going pretty well thus far. We've got a long journey ahead of us. It's a tough game out there at the moment, but we're enjoying the journey. We have a team of young people working hard on it and having a good time along with it too.
It's nice to see the price point, which isn't easy to achieve. I know as a producer, especially when you're not in control of the distillate and pricing and all of the inputs, and being able to bring it to market at that price, I think is very favorable, and it allows you to at least stand up to the dominant blended players in the field who've got massively greater economies of scale than you do.
Yes. And I think like scaling up is tricky for a small business, but we're hoping that as we do more and more so, it will help us to drive the price point down more and more. Really that's the name of the game, to get huge volume and get more participants in the brand. And thank you everyone for the kind comments. That's sort of what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make it a good value whiskey for what it is, and something that you can work with in any way with different cocktails.
You're the first whiskey brand that's ever sent me a link to images that had their whiskey in a glass beside a can of Red Bull, and I have to applaud your market. It's somebody who likes a whiskey Red Bull, and fair play for leaning into it.
Listen, I appreciate a lot of people would say that is sacrilege, mixing our beautiful Irish whiskey spirit with a mixer like that. But listen, again, after doing the research, there is that market there, and why count yourself out if you can be a part of it?
What do you call that cocktail? Is it a Mad Bull? Is that the name of it?
The Mad Bull, and it does sort of But Red Bull gives you wings, as does Irish whiskey sometimes.
I'm glad that we're breaking down the barriers to enjoying whiskey any way somebody wants. I think we can get a little bit too precious about whiskey sometimes. And let's be honest, the whiskey category is built on blended whiskies at an affordable price point, sold globally. And we don't need to reinvent the wheel sometimes, just need to address the existing market.
Yes, and then have a bit of fun with it. Like we also realize that probably the generation who are in their 20s are not looking at whiskey like the generation in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s are. They're not as discerning, and they're very health conscious. So we need to try and grab those younger generations and bring them into our category. So that's sort of, this is our sort of strategy. Hopefully it works. There's some other great ideas within the industry as well to bring those younger drinkers into our category.
I think we're seeing more and more of it, especially over the last couple of years, as the modern Irish whiskey industry as we know it is starting to mature, and we're seeing packaging innovation, marrying innovation, iced tea, Irish whiskey iced teas, Irish whiskey in pouches, Irish whiskey in cans, and it's great ways to be able to shift the product.
Yeah, Liz, I like to name a few. Fox's Bow, their pouch. That's a really cool concept. O'Driscoll's, who are again trying to focus on a particular market and make it a social environment party drink like us. There's a number of brands doing that, and like you said, it's about capturing different consumers. We can't be stuck on just our educated whiskey consumer because there just aren't enough of them.
Great observation. Really great. For those who might not be fully familiar, in the short space of time we've shared your story, there isn't a distillery on site. You are growing your own grain that goes into your Curramore single estate releases, and then Mad Marcus is a entirely sourced product from Great Northern. That's the difference, right?
Yes. So just to be clear, we source the Mad Marquis blend. So it is, yes, it's single malt and grain whiskey blended together. We source it all from Great Northern Distillery, all in ex-bourbon barrels. We bottle it ourselves. Curramore is produced solely as a pot still using barley and oats grown on Curramore Estate. We also tell the story of which fields we harvest each year, what varieties. We're trying to tell the whole story of how we produce our Curramore product, be totally authentic with it. We're not claiming we have a distillery on site. We are currently building a warehouse on site, which will be ready end of August. So we'll have our Curramore whiskey maturing on site. We launched a very successful, what we call a legacy cask membership in 2016. That's been running for 10 years now. We sell 12 casks a year only to individuals or syndicates of people. It is an experience offering whereby people can own a cask of Curramore whiskey, go on the journey of it maturing, but more importantly, come and experience Curramore Estate. It's a beautiful natural environment with a lot of history and heritage behind it. It very much gives you that old world feel of going back in time. We have a 6.5 kilometer river running through ancient Irish oak forestry with the mountains behind it. We offer clay pigeon shooting, fishing, tours of the house and gardens. We have an on-site chef, fine dining. We have self-catering accommodation, and obviously whiskey tastings as well. So we try and immerse our members in the experience of being at Curramore and seeing their whiskey maturing, and then one day they can choose to bottle it or sell it on or do really what they want with it under our guidance. It's been a successful product. We have about 178 members. But yes, Curramore is solely a pot still produced using grain grown from our farm.
Amazing. That's quite the experiential package that goes with the cask. It's you really take advantage of the asset that you have there, the amenity of such a special place to tie it in with whiskey. That's a unique offering, really unique.
Yeah, I think people really enjoy it. It's and we're trying to build a family, a community around our whiskey, people to follow us along the journey. And listen, the dream is to distill on site. We were very close to building a distillery in 2022, and luckily we were advised not to, simply because, as a young, small Irish whiskey business, taking on the cost of running a distillery annually plus building it was a big task before we'd even sold a bottle of whiskey. So for us, we sort of believe the right strategy is to build our brand and distribution first. I think we have enough to offer, and we're being very honest and open about how we produce our whiskey now. And I think, there are enough people that are happy to follow that. And then one day, if the business is strong enough, we will build a distillery on site in our beautiful 180-year-old farmyard buildings, source the grain literally from beside the farmyard building. We will deal with everything on site. The distillery that we designed will be powered by hydro and solar energy. We also will deal with all the waste products on site. We have 200 cows and 1,000 sheep here that need feeding as well. The spent grain can go to them. It really will be a fully circular system. And but what we have also done is we have harvested fallen down oak trees on site, and we have sustainably felled a number of oak trees to encourage further growth within the forest. We sent those trees to Jerez in Spain to the Huberto Domecq family, who we work very closely with in sourcing our casks. They built 30 Curramore Irish oak casks, 10 of which we brought back last year as virgin Irish Curramore oak. We filled last year with our Potstill Spirit. And this year in August, we'll be filling 20 Irish oak casks that have been seasoned and are certified sherry casks because they've been seasoned for over 12 months and registered with the Sherry Association in Spain. They will be Irish oak sherry casks, which I think will be quite unique, and we're excited about filling them in August. So, the idea is we try and source everything on site, and eventually we'll be producing on site too.
You're making use of the estate. Wow. Great to see what you're doing. As if you're not busy enough, because on an estate like that, I'm going to speak now as if I own an estate like that, but there's never a day that the work is done. There's always 100,000 things for you to do, and you're deciding, you're electing to be a little bit busier with Irish whiskey.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's always something to do with these big old places, but listen, we're very lucky and privileged to live here and share the journey with as many people as we can.
There are questions about where people can get the whiskies. The Mad Marcus, I know it's very affordably priced, $29.99, but you've also given us a little bit of a discount, which we can email out to people tomorrow.
Yes,
they can buy it. Lighthouse Drinks, Irish Malts has Mad Marcus, so we'll send out a link and a discount code there tomorrow. For the Curramore single estate, you don't have any currently, do you? But you might have some, or there's some squirreled away.
Not, unfortunately, so we only released 2,400 bottles last year, which we sold everything bar 10 cases in the UK, which I'm actually bringing back to Ireland now. So we distribute locally with Number 21 off license, obviously with Irish Malts also. We are with Mad Marquis in a number of centres, Super Values, with Irish Malts. We are also with Musgraves as well with Mad Marquis. In Ireland, you can source that way. In the US, we're quite small into the West Palm Beach. Not e-commerce yet, which is something I'm working on. And obviously in Alberta and Calgary, in quite numerous retail stores and on-premise locations. Brisbane the same, London the same as well. If for those in London, you can source from Master of Malt, who have an allocation. But yes, we are still building out our distribution to make it more accessible. It's definitely another thing we're learning about. It's one of the hardest parts of the game, the distribution. But we're slowly getting there.
Well, I wish you great success. You've done an amazing job so far, and great to hear all of the endeavours around the oak and the barley and the experiential side of things. I think it's a great story, great use of an estate and an amenity like that. Come back to us again, maybe with maybe some Curramore whiskey in the future, and we'll rally the troops again for a bit of a tasting.
We'd love to do that, Barry. We'd absolutely love to do it. And please, anyone, if you're in Waterford, please do look us up. Come visit. We have tours, and we'd very much love to welcome you here. And thank you for the opportunity, Barry.
Thank you, Richard. Great to see you, and thanks very much for your support. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks a million.
Cheers, Sláinte, everybody.
Cheers, Sláinte. Cheers, Richard. Great story. Great story, and great to see an estate used like that for Irish whiskey. We're going to move swiftly along, folks. We're moving on to dram number 2. We're going to be joined in the next 90 seconds by Sam Black from Black's Brewing and Distilling in Kinsale in West Cork. He'll be giving us a little bit of a view of his distillery, because he's actually in the distillery. So get your dram number 2 into your glass. It's the middle one in your box. I always recommend not pouring out your entire bottle. Save a little bit for later, and also save a little bit in your glass if you can. Compare your whiskies later on. You'll have changed, the whiskies will have changed, the world will have changed around you, so everything will be different. You'll have a whole new experience at the end of the night. All right, let us go west of where I am in Cork to Kinsale. Let me move some banners around here. I'm going to bring on Sam from Black's Brewing and Distilling in Kinsale. Sam, how are you?
Good, Barry. How are you getting on?
Very good, very good. Do you call Kinsale West Cork, or is it not quite West Cork?
It is technically, but we don't really say that because the West Cork people get angry.
I think it's the is the river in Inniscarra is where officially it starts, or where's the official West Cork? Inishannon. That's it. The river in Inishannon. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Not everybody tonight has come with their own distillery, but you've brought your own distillery to the tasting, and that's not just a green screen behind you.
No, I'm still at work. So this is the distillery here. So we have 3 whiskey stills behind me there. We have a gin still in the corner, and then we have a hybrid column still. You probably can't see it down there. They were used for making vodka and a few other weird and wonderful things. And then this is the brew house behind us there, and you can see some fermentation tanks, and down at the far end is packaging, and we have a bar down at the other end. We do tours and tastings in the bar. Bar's quite busy tonight, actually, so hopefully there's not too much background noise. And this is a new site. We built this just 3 years ago. We started brewing in 2013, and then we started distilling in 2015. Started with rum and gin and poitín before the GI came in and the rules got a bit more complicated, and then worked our way back towards making poitín and whiskey in late 2019, 2020. So from a whiskey point of view, our oldest whiskey is about 6 years old, but we make a huge range of products between beers, rums. We make a range of 5 rums, we make 5 gins, we make vodkas. We have several whiskeys and different products going to different export markets around the world. So we have a massive range of things, and we're always innovating. I suppose our kind of tagline is the flavor mavericks. So we're always trying to push the flavors, whether it's in beers or whiskeys or gins, and trying to come up with interesting new flavorful combinations that are bold and bright, and really push the envelope of what's possible to do within the category, you know?
That's a huge facility. How did you get into brewing originally? And I'm going to call a spade here and say that's not a Kinsale accent.
Well, it could be. There's quite a lot of funny accents. No, I'm originally from the UK. I met my wife, who's from West Cork. She's from Clonakilty. I met her in Australia about 26 years ago, and we moved back to Cork and then to Kinsale very quickly after that. So settled here, started homebrewing, as a lot of breweries start out. Had a big passion for it, made a lot of really good beers, and this was back in a time when there wasn't really any different beers in Ireland. There wasn't any craft beers or IPAs even. There was a few English style IPAs coming in, hobgobbling and things like that, but nothing really on the day-to-day basis. So saw an opportunity to create some new products. I was lucky enough at the time I had a very good job at the time, very, very well-paying job at the time, being an engineering contractor for medical device engineering. So it was quite good, and it gave me a good basis to actually raise some capital and start the first brewery. But we started very, very small. I was the only employee for the first 2 years, and then we kind of brought on a second guy and a third guy. We're up to about 20 people here now in the height of the summer, between the production, tours, the bar staff, and sales and marketing, things like that. So we've grown nice and steadily over the last few years, you know.
And you have a perfect location overlooking the Bandon Estuary too, for having a few beers, having a whiskey on a night like tonight, just looking out over the water. It's beautiful down there.
Yeah, it's lovely. I can show you, actually. Look, I'm just in front of the tasting room, so I can show you. Just to go back to the camera again. But I don't know if you can see, that's the view.
Oh, look at that.
Out of the window of the tasting room. So that's the Bandon Estuary. The Cork Harbour is just up there, a few minutes up the road. Yeah, so it's a lovely, lovely part of the world. Great place to work every day. Obviously, it's a great view, although most of the offices don't face the view because the view is kept for all the kind of lovely tourism side of the business, you know.
You were brewing, then you decided, look, we understand how to do at least 50% of the whiskey making process, we might as well bolt on a few stills at the same time. Why did you get into whiskey and not stick with just the brewing? Was there an interest in spirits specifically?
I suppose the problem with brewing was always that you would create a beer, like a fantastic beer, and you'd have captured the flavor profile and everything that you wanted. And then 6 months later, it would have changed. And a year later, it would actually be out of date. So it was a very kind of temporary kind of thing. And distilling has the advantage if you could make something, fix it in time almost, and then put it into a bottle, and then you have that, and your kids can enjoy it, and your grandkids can enjoy it, and see the vision and realize what you were trying to achieve with the product. So that's kind of the big picture idea of it. I suppose, practically speaking, when we started distilling in 2015, there was a slight change in the law about the size of the stills that you had to have, and you could make a case to revenue for a smaller distillery. So we started with it, would you believe, a 20-liter still, making gin. And when the revenue guy came in and we showed him the still, and he just laughed and we laughed, and he signed the paperwork. It opened the door, you know. So we went from the 20-liter still. We did test batches on that, making gin. Once we were happy with our first recipe, we got a 200-liter still, and then we started making rum as well, which is Ireland's first rum. And then from there, the ambition, back then you could make poutine as well. This was pre-GI. So there was no restrictions on having to have 2 stills and all the different rules and regulations that have come in since. So we made a range of interesting distilled products as well. And I suppose we were seeing growth in that side of the business. It allowed my wife Maud to come into the business more actively, full time, you know, giving up her job as a nurse and coming and working side by side with me, kind of really focusing on gin. And then whiskey was always the ambition to get back to whiskey. But obviously the capital investment is huge. And it took us a few more years, another 4 or 5 years, to get to a place where we were confident to make that investment into whiskey. And then we very, very quickly outgrew the facility we were in. Once we put the stills in, we kind of ate up a lot of the space that we had. And then once you start putting things in casks, you quickly run out of space as well. So an opportunity came up for this amazing site. It was I had a few previous lives. It was T-shirt factory. They used to make TVR cars here before that. And it was a boatyard at one stage as well. The building was kind of derelict. It was asbestos covered. It was becoming a bit of an eyesore and a bit of a problem socially, with kids going in and having parties here. Lucky kids having raised, you know? But we were lucky to get it. The planners were lucky to see something done with it. And the only real restrictions we had were around the size. So it was exactly the same width, length, and height as the original building. But obviously it's all new construction with, you know, solar panels and, you know, insulated panels and a new steel structure. And then, yeah, we've added on the bar and visitor center and bits and bobs as we go along, you know.
Where were you producing before, Sam? Was it nearby, or was it on the same site?
No, it was nearby. It was in Kinsale. It was
okay.
Just renting a space. It was about a third of the footprint of this site.
Okay.
We had no space in the yard at all. So this was definitely a step up from us in terms of production.
So as you were waiting for your own whiskey to come of age, which we can talk about in a little bit, because you have released the first whiskey distilled in Kinsale, you went out and found whiskies to mature and maybe cleverly engage them with your own beers in various ways. And I think that kind of leads us to the whiskey we have tonight.
Yeah, so we did a series of 8 whiskies, and they all had different cask finishes. So we called them the Pieces of 8 cask series. So we had 8 different beers available, and we are still doing a lot of beer aged whiskey. So basically, we put the beer into the cask for about a year, take the beer out, sell that as beer, and then we put whiskey into the cask for about 8 months, 9 months, depending on the combination, and then that's bottled. So we did a series of them with lagers, stouts, tropical IPAs, a bunch of different beers, some really wild and wacky ones. This was back in 2022. These are 8-year-old single malts from Cooley, and we did some 8-year-old single grains from Cooley as well. An interesting project, and we were trying to get to the heart of how the beer impacted the flavor of the whiskey. And a good way to do that is just to start with the same whiskey, the same 8-year-old whiskey, and put it into a variety of different casks. So very limited edition, just one cask per bottling. Most of them are gone. There's a few of them left. There's about 25, 30 bottles of this one left. And when we were chatting, I said this might be a fun one to bring along for this tasting. This one brings a lot of character from the beer that might be different from what you would get in, say, a Jameson Stout cask finish, where it can be more subtle and kind of under the scenes. And then some of them brought almost too much character, and they almost weren't like whiskey at all. You know, there was actually one called Pineapple Express, which we haven't even bottled yet. We're waiting for it to calm down a little bit. That's 10, 11 years old now. So we're kind of like thinking it's a bit too extreme maybe for some people, some curious, you know. But that will come out at some stage, maybe 12, 15 years, something like that. But the one we have tonight is, so it's 43%, single malt, Cooley grain. So it would have been 8 years in bourbon cask, and then it would have been about 8 months in the seasoned beer cask. The beer was a Rocket Ship IPA, which was a traditional IPA, 6.5%, lots of hops, big malty backbone, very popular beer at the time. We don't make it anymore, but we tend to rotate through beers except for a few core ones. So this is one of the ones that came in and went. Non-chill filtered, natural color. September 2020 was the bottling on this.
You'd never know that was a whiskey just on the nose. If you were blindfolded, you'd think you were nosing an IPA, or it's such grapefruit and hops on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I always get initially, and then it's kind of almost hard to come up with some comment notes on it. But I was talking to the team today. I mean, there's definitely green apple, a lot of green apple in there. Obviously, the citrus, hoppy notes, perhaps a little bit of melon, a little bit of banana, maybe. Some of it's
great summer nose to it.
Yeah, definitely. Herbal, obviously grassy, and a bit of a minerality edge to it, you know. But it's the kind of whiskey that you just like to keep smelling.
Yeah.
So if you want to give it a taste,
Sláinte. Oh, wow. That tropical note pairs way back, doesn't it? Allows more of that malt to shine through, the biscuity malt. But there's a subtle tropical note of sweet grapefruit, almost sugared grapefruit. To me, I'm getting on the top note of the palate, and then leaning back into biscuity malt.
Yeah, and it's the finish on this is very, very, very long. You'll keep tasting this for a while, and it kind of changes on the end as well. Different things come back into the palate as it goes. Quite dry, but really long finish. So, you know, I always say long finish is great value for money in a whiskey, you know?
Yeah. Wow, that's a great whiskey. I've never tasted a beer cask finish like that. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the beer cask finished whiskeys would be maybe 5% of the whiskey would have been in the beer cask, and the rest wouldn't have, you know? So a lot of it's more looking for a very subtle effect, and it's more perhaps of a marketing exercise. Whereas we tend to do things kind of to the max here. I mean, we could have taken that cask and diluted it with 4 or 5 other casks and had more whiskey. But we like the idea of just releasing them all as they came. And we released them as a set of 8, and you could sit there and you could taste them. And even pair them with the actual beers as well, which is quite an interesting thing to do. But you can taste the stout one with the stout beer. You can taste an IPA one with, you know, the IPA beer with the whiskey, and you can kind of get some of the flavors coming over between the two in the palate.
Is the beer still available then? Is it Rocket Ship IPA? Is that still available as a beer?
It's not on production rotation at the moment,
Okay.
but I'd say it will come back. It's a stronger beer, 6.5%. So they kind of faded out of popularity a little bit in the last couple of years. People are looking for lighter beers, lower alcohol beers, no alcohol beers. But like anything in this industry, it's like a wheel; it'll come back around. And if we get a big export customer that's looking for a 6.5% IPA, Rocket Ship will be what we produce. Great name.
Yeah.
Easy to make a nice label for it. Yeah. So you have a picture there. So that's some of the range there. So yeah, great fun project. And what we're doing now with Beer Finishes is all new make into seasoned beer casks. So we will have those coming through over the next few years. We have our oldest whiskey at the moment; it's about 6 years old. We did an initial release last year, and we kind of maybe do one this year at 6, and then 7, 10, 12 is kind of the plan. So we have some exciting casks, lots of different casks, and all of our whiskeys are fully cask finished. So like we have port cask, it's been from new make to release in port cask, sherry, similar things like that. Obviously, if we need to do some blending and things at the other end, we will. But I think it's an interesting way of getting that big impact of flavor from the cask and just understanding how much of a difference it makes to the whiskey.
It's great to have everything under one roof, to have access to casks like that and finishing casks. And they're your own, they're unique to yourselves. Nobody else has them. You made the beer. Nobody else can finish a whiskey that way, really.
Definitely, yeah, and it gives us, the flip side. Then, if we have a really lovely cask of whiskey that we empty, we can use that to make a lovely whiskey cask finished stout. And we have a few of those products. We normally do them more in the winter time, but strong barrel aged beers that are aged in our own whiskey cask. So you can kind of play with the concept back and forth. We could design a beer specifically for the type of cask that we want to make, for the type of whiskey that we want to end up with in the end. Which is
great
to have extra knobs and levers to pull in that kind of flavor, in that flavor game. Like,
it's amazing how much innovation happens in Cork. It's all about Cork.
Yeah, it all happens here, right?
You were sharing a couple of other spirits with me before we went live. You had a couple of other experimentations that you're working on at the moment. Do you want to talk a little bit about those before we let you go?
We bottled a couple this week. Now they're not available at the moment, but they're going to go on the web shop on Monday. So I said I just show them to you guys first. So the first one I have here is Irish apple brandy, which we made 6 years ago with MacGyver's cider. I was on the other side. So they sent us some cider they had that had gone a bit wild. So it entered kind of a wild fermentation stage. The ABV had gone too high and the flavor was a bit extreme to drink as a cider. So we distilled that through our hybrid column still, and we put that into Irish whiskey casks. And we completely forgot about it until we moved. And then we were looking at it, sitting there in the corner going, we must actually open that and see what it's like. So we cracked it open a few weeks ago, and it tastes fantastic. So we bottled that off. We just bottled it at 40%. That seemed to be the right level for the flavor profile of it. Absolutely delicious. A little bit dry, but massive apple flavor. So kind of excited to release that one. Again, it's very, very limited edition. We only filled 2 blood tubs, which are the very small casks, And then another one, which is kind of we have been working on for a while, but we did bottled some this week, is what we're calling a beer schnapps, which is basically in the German tradition of taking a beer and distilling it down into a spirit. So it's unaged white spirit. This is bottled at 50%, and it's made from KPA, which is one of our biggest selling beers. And it's a very interesting spirit. It's an experiment.
What would the flavor be like?
It's a little bit. What we're using it for here is for margaritas. We have a big slushy machine here. We make margaritas and other tequila-based cocktails. And we make nearly everything we sell here. Buying tequila was driving me crazy. It's so expensive in Ireland. So we use that instead of tequila in that cocktail, and it works very well. With the lime, it's people wouldn't even know that it wasn't tequila. It has a little bit of a different flavor. It's obviously got the spirit flavor. It's got some of the hops coming through again, as you have in this Rocket Ship IPA whiskey. the floral notes, the citrus notes, and the spirit, and it's really, really interesting product, quite tasty, So they'll both be available online on the web shop next week. So something
amazing.
A bit different, something a bit fun.
Yeah, that's great to see. Great to see the innovation.
We also have we'll be bringing out another single cask release this year as well, which will probably be a pot still and one of our more unusual casks, 6-year-old. Before Christmas, we'll see how everything else goes. We're pretty busy.
We talked about maybe you coming back again with something like that to us.
Definitely.
In the future, we'll have to keep chatting with flavors like this coming out of blacks. We need more. We need to wet the whistles a bit more.
That's kind of the problem with us. Sometimes we've got so many different options. It's hard to, it's like having 10 babies. Which one are you going to put forward for the photo shoot?
The whiskey that you shared with us, the 8-year-old single malt, that's regularly listed at $69.99, I believe. You were kind enough to share a discount code with me just before we went live of 20% off your entire web shop, beers and whiskeys and everything, which is amazing. I'll send that out via email tomorrow to everybody. So if you'd like to make a purchase of anything, wait for your discount code tomorrow, and you'll be able to take advantage of some great bundles there between the whiskey and the beer.
Yeah, and if you kind of wait till after lunch, I'll get those 2 new products up on the web shop tomorrow as well.
Oh, amazing. Okay, just need to get perfect.
The beauty shots have to be done, I'm told.
You have your hands full, but you couldn't be in a more beautiful part of the world making spirits, and that view would inspire you.
Exactly, yeah. It's definitely a nice place to work every day.
Sam, thanks a million for bringing the whiskey to us. I had never tasted that whiskey before. I tasted it for the first time live here. Loved it. Great whiskey. Very unusual. If you're an IPA fan, you'll absolutely love it. Fantastic whiskey. So folks, do support Blacks. Follow them on social media. And I see a few of you have already got tours booked down at the distillery. Alan Quinn, I'm looking at you. Enjoy yourselves there. And hopefully more of you can find your way to West Cork and take advantage of what's happening in Kinsale. So thank you, Sam.
Perfect. Thanks, Barry. Have a good evening, everyone.
Take care. See you again soon. Thanks a million. All the best. Every month when we do this, every time we leave a guest, I say, isn't it amazing how lucky we are to meet the people behind the pours and hear what they're doing and just share in their passion. So many characters doing so many interesting things. And some people have just got bundles of energy and are just engines that can't stop, and they just have to keep making and producing, and it's just how they're wired. I think Sam is one of those people, and he's just wired to create and to produce. Amazing. And I think they produce a lot, but they don't market a lot. And I think that's the case with a lot of small producers too. So your dollars, your euros, your pounds will go a lot further with small producers like we have on tonight than they will with the big multinationals. And they'll feel the difference of a few bottles purchased, and a bigger distillery might not even notice. So if you can support, I always suggest that you do. Pour dram number 3. We're going to move straight on because we've got a man who's trying to enjoy his holidays that we're interrupting, and his name is Peter Cooney, and he's joining us from a long way away. Peter, part of the founding family of Boann Distillery in County Meath. So pour drop number 3, at least a portion of your drop number 3, and we're going to be introduced to a new single pot still whiskey from Boann Distillery. Peter Cooney, we have interrupted your great holiday. You could have got a suntan here in Ireland. You didn't need to leave it all.
That is true. It's actually hotter in Ireland than it is where I am at the moment. There you go.
We don't like to interrupt people's holidays, but we're always appreciative of a good chat about Irish whiskey.
You're all good. Well, I suppose it is a Boann legacy, so it's only right that a family member talks about it. So that's why I'm here.
Well, you're a martyr to the cause of Irish whiskey. I'll grant you that. Peter, we've chatted many times on many different shows, on many different channels, and in person many times. There may be people here tonight who are not as familiar with the Boann brand and yourself. Would you mind giving us a little introduction to Boann and yourself? I'll share some slides on the screen as well while you do.
Sure. I hope the sound is okay, Barry. I'm kind of
perfect.
Like it's all good, right?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Peter.
A 101 on Boann Distillery, yeah.
That's it.
I'll see what I can muster up. Well, it all stems from legacy. So I'm second generation, part of the family business. And it goes all the way back to my dad and his brother setting up a little wholesale company in Tipperary in the 70s. And they were bottling Guinness and making soft drinks. And they founded Tipperary Natural Mineral Water and built a very big business. And then in about 2013, we decided to set up a new business. And basically, rather than focus on the island of Ireland, we said we'd go global and spread our wings around the world. And we set about building a distillery. And you can see it in the picture there. We also had a brewery and a cidery. They didn't work out, unfortunately. But I'm glad to say we will have our third brewery coming on stream before the end of the year, and our second cidery is also in operation at the moment. So we're still in beer and cider, but our main focus is whiskey. So we've been distilling for about 6.5 years. There's our family porch right there, so we're very much a family business, as you know, Barry. To my right there is Sally-Ann. She is in charge of marketing and hospitality, and she's currently hosting a number of people from the Irish Whisky Society in Boan at the moment. And Gary Ring, a good fellow Cork man up the PRC, is bringing them a dynamic tasting in the warehouse, where we have like stations in the warehouse and they can taste it.
They'll be there all night. If Gary's talking, God bless him.
Well, this is it. You know, it's not a half an hour tasting. It'll go on till midnight. So Sally-Ann is there tonight with Gary doing that. And then there's myself, I look after exports. And then there's my brother, Paddy, who looks after e-commerce and domestic sales. And my brother James looks after finance. And then my mom is the beekeeper and my dad is the CEO. So we're very much a family business. And if anyone comes to visit us, you know, we're all there. We're not afraid to roll the sleeves up. So we're distilling 6.5 years. And basically, we always wanted to do a pot still distillery. So Pat is from Drogheda, and Drogheda has a big history with distilling. At one stage, there was 18 distilleries in Drogheda. John Jameson had a very large production site there. Some people say it was larger than the actual Dublin site. And Preston's would have been another big one. So there's a lot of history. And Aeneas Coffey, the inventor of the coffee still, was a revenue officer in Drogheda. So there's steeped with history of distilling in Drogheda. I suppose we brought it back since 1968 when Preston's closed down. And as I was saying, Pat, you know, drank pot still whiskey. So he always had the ambition to build a pot still distillery. So when we went to get our equipment, we spec'd our plant to specifically for making pot still whiskey. And we've completely gone to town on that, Barry, as you know. When we first started, we commissioned our distillery on a 50-50 mash bill, so 50% malted barley, 50% unmalted barley. And most people will commission on single malt because it's easier to do. But we chose the hard route, and I suppose it's paying dividends now. And then about a year into our production, or maybe like 6 months into production, this disheveled academic arrived on our doorstep and said he had a project to do where he was uncovering the vintage mash bills of Ireland, Fionn O'Connor. And he told us the idea of what he wanted to do. And we were like, yeah, it's interesting. It's completely uncharted territory. But, you know, we like taking risks. So essentially we gave him the keys of our distillery for about a 6-week period. And we distilled 10 different mash bills, single pot still, over a 200-year period. And the findings from that pretty much changed our direction as a distillery. And from then we've gone down lots of different avenues and routes. We've distilled about 45 different mash bills. So when I say mash bill, it's the varying degrees of, you know, the grains that are allowed in pot still. So you have malted barley, oats, wheat, and rye. And the whiskey we're tasting today actually has 2 mash bills. It has our 50-50, one of our core mash bills from the first year, and then it has our current core mash bill, which is 40% malted barley, 55% raw barley, 3% oats, and 2% rye. And then some of the findings from that, we then went on another level and we started creating mash bills for specific cask types. So we have a special mash bill for Oloroso, Pedro Jimenez, Calvados, Madeira, Marsala, and Riff salts, and a few others. So we've kind of taken it to another level. So I suppose single pot is what we're making and what we're doing. And the good news is tomorrow at 9 a.m., the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine is posting their public consultation for the amendment of the technical file from the project we did with Fiona O'Connor 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. So it's very exciting.
It's a big week for Irish whiskey with that consultation opening up, and I know it'll take another little while to go through the process and more desks to cross, but it's been a long time getting to this point. So kudos to everyone involved in this one.
Yeah. The department, they think they move fast, but like 5.5 years is very fast. In the business world, you wouldn't survive thinking you could do things like that. But they go at their own pace, steady as she goes. But we're finally getting there. So it'll be open to the public for 3 months. So anybody in the world can write in and say this is a good idea or a bad idea and make reference as to what they think. Thankfully, I would like to think that all of the Irish whiskey industry, all of the distillers and blenders and independent bottlers and bonders are for the amendment for the change of the technical file of single pot still. So for the viewers that might know the current rules and regulations of what a single pot still is, you have to use a minimum of 30% malted barley, a minimum of 30% unmalted barley, and then a maximum of 5% other grains, being oat, wheat, and rye. So the technical file amendment going live tomorrow is proposing to move the other grains from a maximum of 5 to a maximum of 30 of oat, wheat, and rye. So it's incredibly exciting because through that project, we discovered that all of the whiskies, when Irish whiskey was the biggest whiskey in the world, they all had more than 5% of the grains. They had 30% wheat, 30% oats, 5 or 10% rye, and different varying degrees of malted barley and unmalted barley. And those combinations deliver just incredibly different flavors. So
it's going to change the landscape, isn't it? It's going to change the face of Irish whiskey forever once we start to see these, what were called mixed mash bill pot stills.
Yeah.
Mixed mash bill Irish whiskies becoming single pot stills.
Yeah. Well, I always tell everybody, like, single pot still is the next single malt. The Scots have had their day. They've told the world that single malt is the best whiskey in the world. And it's a little bit one-dimensional, to be honest, Barry. When you bring in single pot still with all those different mash bills, the world is your oyster. And we're really pushing hard on that. So it's a very exciting time.
A critic of single malt once said to me, no self-respecting chef would make their meal from one ingredient. And I think that's in single pot still's favor.
There you go. I might rob that one from you, Barry.
You can have it. I stole it from someone else. You're getting great feedback in the comments. If anyone is not a fan of Boann, they're not letting on. There's a lot of former visitors to the distillery and those who've fallen in love with the brand through your single pot still whiskies. One of the things you do very well, in addition to very complex marrying of casks, vattings, blends of styles, is your packaging and symbols and references. It's like a Dan Brown novel. It's like trying to decrypt some of what you've tied together, but there's so many things on the bottle that are tied to various aspects in the Boyne Valley, in your lives, in your family, and I suspect it's going to be no different with this new release.
100%. We love spinning a good yarn and telling stories. Internally we call them Easter eggs. These little hidden gems.
You're the Taylor Swift of Irish whiskey.
I can't sing. My girls I have 3 young daughters. They love Taylor Swift, so they've told me I'm not a good singer or a dancer for that. I'll stick to the whiskey. But will I talk a little bit about the packaging? Yeah.
Do please. Yes, this is our third dram of the night. Whiskey number 3.
Lovely. So hopefully everyone's poured themselves a drink. So this is our Boann Legacy release, and essentially the color is called verdigris, and basically that happens when you have the natural copper, what copper pot stills are made of. You can see them in the background there. That is copper in its raw state. When copper is oxidized over time, it actually turns to this color, which is called verdigris, patina of verdigris, or some people might know it as Tiffany blue in the fashion world. It's a very famous color. But in our spirits, so in our distillery, we're all about copper contact, and we have the nanotechnology and all these wonderful pieces of technology that help us create a really clean distillate. In the spirit state of our spirit still, so the last piece of equipment that the spirit flows through, the inside of it is covered in this verdigris, and that's because the copper has been stripped from the stills through the triple distillation and ended up in the spirit still and been exposed to oxygen, and it oxidizes and turns to this color. So I suppose the inspiration came from that, and then legacy comes from, we're paying homage to the 700 years of Irish whiskey making. All of the distilleries, all the people that have come before us, we're standing on the shoulders of giants and all of that. So we're paying homage to them. In 700 years, we have been coined to have been the first people to create Irish whiskey. I think that's unrefuted. And I think if you read Fionnan's thesis, it's about this big. It's good bedtime reading. That will clarify that Irish whiskey, or the country of Ireland, were the first people to make Irish, or to make whiskey. So there's a lot of legacy there. But this bottling also pays homage to, the Coopers around the world, because we've used 7 different casks in this, the winemakers from around the world. So it's, and then from another angle, I suppose we're talking about our family as well, the Cooney family. I'm the second generation. We've been in the business for 50 odd years. We've made water, soft drinks, cool pops, alcohol cool pops, cider, beer, cream liqueur, gin, whiskey. I'm sure I'm missing a few things. Basically anything in a bottle that you can make, we've probably done it. But I suppose now we've perfected our mastery. We're whiskey makers. Now we also make a little bit of cream liqueur and all that as well. But so booze is in the veins, and I suppose it's a nod to the legacy of our family as well. And I'm, as I said, I'm the second generation, and we run the business with our father. So the second generation is going to take it to the next level. They always say the first generation creates it, the second generation builds it, and then the third generation pisses it up against the wall, Barry. Hopefully we
I thought that was the second generation. No, you're skipping.
No,
you're passing on to the third.
Generation.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right.
So far. So hopefully we have to.
Your poor daughters. Your poor daughters.
Yeah. Well, I've 3 daughters. Saliana's 2, and Paddy has 1 daughter and 1 son. So there's at least 1 son that will carry the Cooney name forward.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of pressure on the third generation. But I suppose that's up to us as the second generation to, raise them properly and instill the right values for them to take it on to the next level. And
right.
That is what it's going to be. We're not waiting for some large multinationals to knock on our door and throw us loads of cash. Our vision is being a family business. And I suppose that's how we've gotten to where we are now. We're 100% family owned, and we can do loads of interesting things, crazy things, and we move fast. You've been to our warehouse, it's a wild adventure in there. If we had shareholders or a big bank or something like that, you just wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
So we're controlling our own destiny, which is brilliant.
You are very lucky in that sense, and I suppose we're lucky as consumers, and that we're getting access to the early inefficiencies economically for you of building a business. We're better off for it. This whiskey then is. I'd rather you waste your own money than waste ours. So rock on, This whiskey was released on the summer solstice. The whiskey we're drinking is at 40% ABV and is going to be part of the core range going forward. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah.
So
summer solstice 2024, we launched 3 core pastels: our Beaumont PX, Marsala, and Madeira. And then 2 years later, we've launched this at 40%, so it's a bit more accessible. It's also less expensive. It's 55 euros in Ireland, hopefully like $50 in America. And I suppose the consumers were asking for it because everyone's a bit strapped for cash. Times are tough, wars are going on, the world is upside down. It's a big ask someone to fork out, in Ireland anyway, 70 euros for a bottle of whiskey, even though they're all worth it. But we felt that maybe a whiskey that is a bit more accessible, 55 euros and 40% ABV, is the right thing to do and the right time to do it. And we did something similar with the Whistler last year, where we launched the Whistler Triple Oak, and I think I was on this tasting with you.
You
last
were.
year, talking
Yep.
about it as well. And that's been a huge success for us. It's an awesome whiskey, but the price point is really, really good and accessible. So that's what we're trying to do here from a single pot still perspective as well.
Tell us
And
about
I
seven
think
casks.
we've
Like,
nailed it.
it's not normal to find 7 different types of casks or with previous inhabitants and bring them all together. Did the story back into the 7 casks, or did the 7 casks back into the story?
Well, it comes from all different angles. So 7 is a good number. Firstly, it's a lucky number.
You're such a chancer, but I'm going to indulge you. You're such a chancer, but I'll indulge you. Go on.
There's always a good story, right? There's 7 in our family, and it just so happens that we have a ridiculous amount of different types of casks in our warehouse. So most distilleries in Ireland, or a lot of the larger distilleries, like probably 90% of everything they fill is bourbon, and 10% would be sherries and ports or whatever else you're having. We would be on the other spectrum. We're probably like 20 to 30% bourbon, and the rest is any really good fortified wine or sweet wine or spirit we can get our hands on. We'll use those casks, and we tend to strike up collaborations with very famous producers, preferably family owned as well, because family owned companies have a different ethos compared to a PLC. So one of the companies that we work with is Rodriguez in Montilla in Andalusia, probably like a 2-hour drive, or maybe an hour and a half drive from Jerez. So Jerez is where all the sherry casks come from, and very famous, probably because of they were beside the sea. But in Montilla, they're a lot higher up. They actually have the earliest harvest in Europe because they have so much intense sun. So they're harvesting their grapes in August, and predominantly they grow Pedro Jimenez grapes. So we get a lot of casks from them, predominantly Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez, because they just work wonderfully with Irish whiskey. But with each load, we'll get a consignment of Moscatel or Amontillado or Fino, Palo Cortado, Manzanilla. So we have the full spectrum of those, sherry style whiskies. Even though they're not sherry, they're actually Montilla Morales is the name of the region, which is beside Cordoba. So I would have made that decision, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, with the basis that at some stage I was going to have to use all these casks. So when you're creating something, it's not a case of writing it on a piece of paper with a clear line of A to B. There's always zigzags and twists and turns, and it just kind of naturally happens. And so when we created this whiskey, we obviously looked at the stocks that we had laid down without a major plan. Even though there was a plan, it was just wasn't at the front of our brain. So it worked perfectly. So firstly, bourbon, American oak is fantastic, and relatively inexpensive compared to these other types of casks. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of the distillers in the world would use them, because they're consistent, they're second fill, and relatively inexpensive. Then we would have French oak, and our French oak casks. So American oak is Quercus alba. You get different profiles from that, coconut vanillas. French oak is a different animal. It's a tighter grain. You get a lot more color, and you get a lot more tannin and spices of cinnamon and cloves. And it's a bigger, more tannic whiskey. But over time, those tannins soften and create something beautiful and silky. So we have a lot of French oak, but they're essentially rejuvenated French oak casks. So generally from the Bordeaux region, Quercus Petrea, they're from Forêt de Tronçais, and they're probably like 300-year-old trees. So we have a lot of them, and when we started, they were bought in for a purpose. to give structure and a long finish and a long tail, but also to give color as well. So that's why we use a lot of French oak. So we had a lot of them, and then we had an awful lot of Montilla Morales casks, or sherry casks, you can call them. So it naturally just worked. And Andy, our blender, whom you've met a few times, he loves it when I give him a difficult brief. Right, we're going to make this whiskey, we're going to make it accessible, and we're going to use 7 cask types from our warehouse. This is what I think it should be. And, go on there into the warehouse and let's start making up some samples. So it probably took us about a year to pull it together with some very intense tastings. And the perfect harmony, we found it. Like as a single pot still for €55 at 40%, it's incredibly complex. There's a huge amount going on there. I always tell the story that, within a whiskey, there's thousands and thousands of flavor compounds, but a normal person could probably only taste like maybe, or pinpoint 5 or 6 or 7. And, a blender could probably pinpoint maybe 20 or 30, maybe 40 if they're very good. Like I'm sure you could probably pinpoint 50 different flavor profiles in this berry if you put your nose in there.
There's a very dominant, for me right now, note of clove and anise coming through. Interesting that you mentioned the clove and the French oak. But there is such a Boan DNA that is becoming very apparent very quickly across your pot stills. It's there, like you could blind point out, you could blind identify the distillery, despite the complexity of the casks. That spirit is still dominant in there.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And I would taste a lot of other whiskies because we have another brand called the Whistler, and we would purchase other distillates from other distilleries as well as our own to make these blends. And I can pinpoint, I go like, that's a Cooley, that's a Bush, that's a G&T. But all these distilleries do have their DNA, and the DNA of Boan is very, very distinctive indeed. So as I was saying, there's 2 mash bills. So we've our 50-50 and then our core, which is 40 malt, 55 raw barley, 3% salt, 2% rye. But the makeup, because I know you like your ratios, the cask makeup of this is 20% American oak, 10% French oak, 15% Oloroso, 15% Pedro Jimenez, 15% Palo Cortado, and 15% Amontillado, and then 10% Moscatel. So I might just talk a little bit about them. So we talk about American oak, French oak, and then the casks from Montilla Morales. So they're all made from the Pedro Jimenez grape. So most of the sherry casks in Jerez are made from Palomino, and they fortify to bring up the alcohol strength to make it stable for long-term maturation in the cellar. In Montilla Morales, they don't need to fortify because the sun is so intense. They can get to high alcohols, so they rarely fortify wines. So there's a big difference. And in my opinion, Montilla Morales wines are far superior to sherry wines. And I think one of the reasons is because Jerez is beside the coast and is easier to export. So Montilla Morales is this hidden little gem up the Cordova, but nobody really knows of it. And we love telling their story, as we do with loads of other wines from the world. So Oloroso, everyone knows what Oloroso is. You get it's fortified wine, you get your classic nutty, your dried fruits. Palo Cortado is a really interesting one. But firstly, I might just talk about Amontillado. So Amontillado it starts as a Fino, and it has a floor on top, and that basically stops oxidative aging. So you have biological aging, and then eventually over time, it could take 10 years, 20 years. Really depends on the environment of the bodega. And the floor will break, and it will move from biological aging to oxidative aging, and that's where you get the really deep, intense, walnutty, interesting notes. So that's your Amontillado. Then your Palo Cortado is also known as the mysterious one, El Misterioso in Spain. And that happens by accident. And it basically has the body of an Oloroso with the bouquet of an Amontillado. And each bodega would have their own style of Palo Cortado. Essentially, it means cut stick, because when you have a Fino on the cask, they'll have a line. And then when the winemaker will discover a Palo Cortado, he will basically cut the stick. And that's what Palo Cortado means. And then we have Pedro Jimenez, which is essentially, they basically pick the grapes and they lay them out on big kind of canvas sheets in the sun. Kind of like Amarone, they lay them on straw, but in Montilla, they just lay them out in the field. And the grapes get shriveled up and the sugars intensify. A lot of the water gets taken out. So when they make the wine, it's like exceptionally intense and high sugar content. And in Spain, they would like pour it on their ice cream, as well as sip it chilled. Like it's very delicious and viscous and syrupy and gorgeous. And then we have Moscatel, which is a complete outlier. So it's a different grape variety altogether. It actually stems from Muscat de Alexandria, which is like one of the oldest grapes in the world, and like 2,000 or 3,000 years old. And that's completely different. That's like aromatic, floral, like absolutely beautiful. It's actually my favorite grape in the world, actually. I have like a Muscat de Rivesaltes, which is like absolutely stellar. So we've taken those 7 different cask types and blended them in at varying degrees. As I said, it took us about a year to get it right. And this is what we've ended up with, which in my opinion is a very delicious, easy sipper, very approachable whiskey with a lot of complexity and depth and flavor.
There's a lot there. There's a lot for your money. It's there'd be almost no way to pick out the individual cask components. The notes are there, but that's the skill of the blender, isn't it? It's that the nuance.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2% in the other direction, it doesn't work.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, it's very well balanced. That's Andy Mooney. So I suppose I'll give a shout out to Alex Witt, our head distiller. He makes it all happen. And I always tell people it starts in the field. All the grains that we use come from a 50-mile radius of our distillery, and we commission local farmers to grow barley, oat sweet, and rye for us. So Alex is heavily involved in that, and he'll bring it into the distillery and make our distillate and put it into cask, and then it's kind of up to Andy, 4 or 5 or 6 years onwards from that to start blending them. And he is a very lucky job. He's basically a little boy in a candy shop, and because there's such diversity and range that you can go absolutely. It's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like there's so much to pull from. So when he was making this whiskey, he had a wide range of casks to pull from. And all different ages and different mash bills as well. So this will probably change over time. Once the GI changes, we can actually start blending in some of our Oloroso mash bill or Pedro Jimenez mash bill. So it will only get better over time and more complex and more interesting.
I'd say you have a higher sample bottle budget than most distilleries for all the cask draws you do for blending.
Yeah, we're not good. We kind of have like our distilling team is very international, and we've never really advertised for distiller roles. People actually come to us and say, "Here, listen, I love what you do, and I actually just want to come and work for you." So we have like an American, Alex, we have someone from Cork, Gary. That's kind of an international thing, isn't it?
It is international, yeah. We're our own republic.
Brazilian, Argentinian, French, Russian, and other Irish people. Yeah,
you've had Italians in the past. You've had Kerrymen all over.
We have, yeah. So very diverse range, but in our warehouse we kind of have an open policy. It's like, here lads, taste away, because we need to know what's going on, because it can't all be left to Andy. And we've 30,000 casks on site, so when you're walking around, the distillers are encouraged to taste and give feedback and write notes on the cask. Gary's a devil for writing notes on the cask.
No more passionate a man will you find in the world of Irish whiskey than Gary Ring.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but
a couple of questions.
Great knowledge to know what is going on, and he's hilarious. I was chatting to him today. He was talking about what he's going to taste with the Irish Whiskey Society.
Yeah,
and he's very much about the time and the place and the weather. Like he wanted to taste Rivesaltes, and he said, it wasn't right today. It was a bit tight.
Interesting.
Because of the heat or whatever. And then tomorrow it'll be open and he'll like be
okay.
Like, yeah, very emotional stuff when you're tasting whiskey. Like, and it does change. It's kind of like this, that they move, Yeah.
Yeah. They have their own personalities.
They 100%. And every cask is different. Sorry, you were going to ask me some questions there.
I was going to put a couple of questions here from the audience. One is, are there any plans for a Moscatel only release?
Potentially. So we've two different types of Moscatel. We've actually got three. We have Moscato Resorts, which is the Moscato grape. And we have Moscatel from Monte Morales. We also have Moscatel from Moscatel Setúbal from Lisboa. So we have three, as I said, it's my favorite grape variety. So we have three different styles of Moscatel in our warehouse. And it's not on the radar just yet, but we have so many of these casks on site that we will eventually have to do something. I noticed Redbreast did do one.
Yep.
And I was delighted to see it because I saw Dave's name on the back, and I was like, that's brilliant, because he's just an absolute gentleman. Like, I've known Dave.
Dave McCabe.
Dave McCabe. I've known him for like 15 years, and he was kind of, he's now their new blender, or will become their new master blender. So I was delighted to see that, and it was delicious, gorgeous whiskey. The difference is though that they would have used seasoned casks, so it would have been virgin. I think it might have been virgin Spanish oak and then seasoned with Moscatel.
Yes.
Maybe 18 to 24 months longer, I'm not sure. Whereas our Moscatel casks are originals. They
were wine holding casks. Yeah.
Oh, correct. Yeah, they're generally 30 to 40 years older or more. Okay. So the taste profile is wildly different. With Dave's, he's a great whiskey, but he's a lot of those oak tannins coming in. Whereas with our Moscatels, there's not a lot of tannins left. It's the aromatic floral notes that we're getting in the whiskey, which I absolutely love. Yeah.
And that's the advantage of a smaller distillery like yourselves, being able to access boutique wineries, where a Midleton, there wouldn't be the scale out there for Midleton to get X wine casks.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to get the volume that they need. Because they're relatively small. But to answer your question, will we have a Moscatel? I'm sure we will at some stage. We've so many different casks on site that, like, I'm never going to be able to bottom them all. That's going to be the third generation. The girl gang from the Cooney family that will be gifted these amazing casks, and they'll probably Moscatels.
But will you promise me this? Before it gets to the third generation, will we bottle a cask?
Well, we have one in the works, Barry.
We'll get a bottle before the third generation. I need that live now with witnesses to say before your daughters take over.
Yeah, I need more pictures of chocolate bars to keep that going.
Don't worry about that. We'll worry about the pictures later. We have a cask in the works, folks. There's a cask on the way.
Okay.
A special one, very special one. And if there's enough of it, we might throw it into a 3 drams in the future if you're good.
100%.
Lots of great feedback from the audience. Kudos to the Cooney family. And that's Adrian from the Harborview Hotel in Carnlough. The innovation we're hearing about is bold and confident and will undoubtedly deliver success at many levels in years to come. I love the interaction between all aspects and facets of the whiskey industry and events like this, where people come out and support no matter what part of the industry they're from. You've got some fans in the audience. €55 for the 40%, and then €85 for the cask strength, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So we had our Solstice party on Thursday, where we launched our Bohan Legacy, and then for the party we had a cask strength version of that. And you could probably guess how many bottles we had, Barry, of the cask strength version.
777.
There you go. 7's the magic number there. Yeah. So you can buy it online. It's a distillery exclusive. So that was the cask strength version. It was a great party. It was brilliant. We had 2 harpists. We had a 5 to 10 house do a dinner for us. So they basically made it into a picnic team. And they rolled out pieces of brass along our long tables. It's a full-on picnic with our...
Amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. So we basically did American oak cask strength, French oak cask strength, and then kind of a sherry blend or Monte Morales blend, and then the actual whiskey, and then paired with really delicious foods. It was a great event. And
what a life.
We do them twice a year. So if anybody ever wants to go, it's very well priced. It's maybe like €50. And you
put on great events.
Get a tour of the warehouse. You get far too much booze than you should, and you get a tasting. So it's a really good event. I'd urge anyone who hasn't been to come to our winter sauces.
Oh.
And every year we do something different. So the winter one, I'm already working on what the winter is going to be, but it will be something special and different to what we've ever done before.
I'm going to try and make that one. I've never been able to make the other ones work. I need to make one work, because anytime you've been kind enough to host us with our groups, the hospitality's been off the charts. It's been a great night. Always ends with people giving a narration of a poem or a song, a lovely kind of a way to round out a night, a kind of a Cooney family tradition.
There's a bit of whistling and a bit of poetry and all that wonderful stuff, Barry, you know yourself.
You've been very kind in allowing us to taste this the week it's launched. Thanks so much for interrupting your holidays as well to talk about the family business and share the passion and the enthusiasm. And I'd encourage people to visit the website and pick up a bottle of this in the Cask Strength whiskey. And congratulations on the growing portfolio, the growing core range.
Thanks very much, Barry. Delighted to be
Cheers,
here again.
Peter. You'll be back again yet. We'll get more out of you yet.
Should I leave on a poetic note?
Oh, if you have listen, we would never deny you a poem.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do the anglicized version because my Irish is not very good. I'd probably
Go on.
get balls on it. So I was speaking at the summer solstice on Thursday just gone. We had some Japanese guests, so I had to welcome them in Japanese. It was hilarious. They said I did a good job, but I'm not so sure. Then I had some Germans as well, so I had to welcome them in German. But essentially I was translating, Céad Míle Fáilte, and what the Japanese version and the German version of that was. And then in the end, I basically said, may the road rise to meet you, and may the wind be always on your back, and may the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Sláinte.
Sláinte, Peter. Garvagot.
Céad Míle Fáilte.
Enjoy the holidays, Peter. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Barry. All the best.
Cheers, Peter.
Thanks,
take care.
Bye-bye.
Just keeps getting better and better. And we're not done yet. We're going to bring on Anthony Sheehy from Irish Whiskey Auctions in just a minute. Great whiskey from Boann, and great to see the industry evolving and maturing in a way that prices can come down as stock ages, and there are enough distilleries with their own stock able to bring their own whiskies to market, and they're starting to have economies of scale, and we're the beneficiary of it. I think that's a really great whiskey, great value, €55 for single pots of whiskey from a very small producer. Great whiskey. All right, lots of you are either visiting Boann soon, have visited Boann, please do, and be sure to pick up a couple of bottles if you can. All right, we will move very swiftly along because he's been waiting in the wings for the last half hour, God bless him. Anthony Sheehy from Irish Whiskey Auctions, you're a trooper for sitting through the drivel that I've been coming out with for the last hour and a half.
It's hardly drivel, Barry. It's always interesting listening to the lads, isn't it? There's always
so good. It's so good. Like 3 very different whiskey makers tonight, and each would have a very good following of what they do, like they're niche. Each of them are quite niche.
Yeah. And not like the ramblings of me and you at all.
No, they're polished. They make money, hopefully. They have some semblance of success behind them, which is always helpful. Yeah. Folks, this is Anthony Sheehy, the co-founder, together with his wife Katie, of Irish Whiskey Auctions, Ireland's largest whiskey auction platform, and it's the largest because he's put the most work in over the past 6 years now.
8 years.
8 years.
October 12th of October 2018.
Well, no, I said the years you put the hard work in. There was a couple of years there was no hard work. Sorry, I missed that part. Yeah. Okay. Katie's been working hard for 8 years. I've been there or thereabouts for the last 12 months or so. We got to know each other many years ago. We've ended up in business together with Irish Whiskey Experiences. I've been a big fan of you and Katie's graft and work ethic and ability to bring things to life, and your great flag flyers for the world of Irish whiskey, and a often overlooked massive sales channel for distilleries and brands for those who have no idea what Irish Whiskey Auctions is, could you tell us a little bit about it and how you got into it in the first place?
I think the easiest way to describe it for people that they understand, it's eBay for whiskey. That's essentially what it is. I think we don't own the bottles, apart from these bottles behind me, but we don't own the bottles. So people submit bottles to us. We process them, identify them, rank them and photograph them, give them a unique number and all that sort of stuff. And then we put it on an auction once a month. We're actually live at the minute with our June auction. It's currently live. It's ticking away there nicely. It ends on Sunday night. Well, it starts to end on Sunday night at 7 p.m. But all the auctions last for 9 days. So I've been lucky enough to turn a passion into a business and into a good business, actually, in fairness. But I mean, when we started back in 2018, we were the first ones in Ireland to do it, and again, it was just something that I thought, how hard can it be? I know it's hard.
We're now about to be told how hard it was.
Yeah. I mean, the challenges we face. So I literally started the 21st of January 2018. Me and Katie had bought. I'll actually get it. That's the origin of the story. Me and Katie had bought this bottle of whiskey for her dad. So it's a bottle of Slieve na Glock whiskey. It was made in the Cooley distillery. It was a relatively inexpensive bottle of whiskey at the time, but it's a peated whiskey, and it was done for the European market. And we had bought that bottle of whiskey for Katie's dad on Christmas 2017. It got stopped by the customs, by the revenue service coming into Ireland. And we had the challenges of getting it back and swearing that we'd never do it again and all them various different things. And 21st of January, it was a Sunday. We were in Dublin. We were talking to some friends in a whiskey shop. And one of them said, we were explaining, I bought it from an auction platform based in Germany who's been going for many, many years. And I was explaining, I bought the bottle and got seized. And he says, it's a shame that there's no auction platform in Ireland. And I went, it is, isn't it? And it was literally a throwaway comment like that. It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass that nobody's done that. And driving home the road with Katie, and I think she still regrets it to this day. I'm like, as she describes it, she could see the hamster turning on the wheel and my little brain working overtime of going, well, why is it not done? Why has nobody done it before? And surely somebody's done it. But if they had done it, I'd know about it and I'd be using their service. But they hadn't. And literally that night, and here's the proof. If anybody goes to our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, and our web domain, they will see that they were all registered on the 21st of January 2018. I literally sat up that night, beavering away. When I realized that nobody had done it before, I thought, well, I'll do it. And therein lies the story. And it took us from 21st of January, when I started with the plans, to October of that same year, 2018, when we had our very first auction. So it was a challenge. It was a significant challenge.
When we buy bottles in auction now, it's a seamless process to us as consumers. It all works. We bid on the bottle. If we're successful, we win it. It comes to us. The process is clear. There was no way you could have even envisioned what a flow the customer journey even looked like when you started that, was there? And what would jump in your way to prevent a simple flow from happening?
Well, I did. I mean, I was a customer myself, so I knew what other people were doing, and I knew what, there was, at the time when I was doing the homework, I think there was about 15 based in the UK. So it's a huge, business in the UK. My question was, why had nobody done it in Ireland? So, what were the barriers for that? The barriers were legislation. I mean, in the UK, you can get a license for £200 and you can sort of set up the business. Whereas we had to buy a pub. I mean, that was the fix that we had to do. So there's loads of challenges. But yes, I sort of knew what the customer journey looked like. But how to create that in the back end was where the challenge started. We originally bought, I mean, anybody, I think you were there at the start as well, as much as anything else. Because we'd met upstairs in the palace before we went live, I think. And I think this mad thing. A Redbreast launch, was it?
I think so. I think we met first outside Whiskey Live in the old Dublin Castle location. Maybe it was 2017, and then you went live in 2018, or maybe it was. Yeah, I think I met you just before it went live.
And we started. We bought off the shelf software. We thought it was like a Shopify type WordPress platform, but it just couldn't. It couldn't sustain. And I mean, we were throwing. Anybody who's techie would understand. I mean, at one stage we had 9 dedicated servers feeding our website. We were literally throwing capacity at it because the site couldn't cope with the volume of people that. And we so many helpful comments, from people telling what we should have done and how we should have done it and what I was doing wrong and all the various different things. But the challenge that we faced that perhaps nobody else faced was like eBay. When everybody goes on eBay, items are ending at multiple times throughout the day, throughout the week, or whatever the case may be. The closest analogy I can describe it to is Ticketmaster when a ticket goes live. So the next Taylor Swift concert that Barry you're buying your ticket for, and you're logging on and you're trying to buy it. It just struggles under the load because everybody's trying to do the exact same thing at the exact same time. And that was the challenge we faced because the software just had to process all the bids, had to recognize the bids, had to tell you what the next incremental bid was, and not everybody was waiting until the last minute at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night and all trying to bid at the same time. So it's a challenge. It is a challenge. Still is a challenge.
There were other competitors came along after seeing your own success and helping serve the market, but you kept growing the size of your auctions. I mean, there's regularly more than 1,000 bottles on your auctions.
Yeah.
How did you do that, and how did you grow to 10x the size of your nearest competitor?
I don't know if there was any one thing. And I think something that stood to us and stands to you and stands to all the people that do this is we were genuine. I mean, I'm a whiskey fan first and foremost. I mean, I love whiskey. I mean, that's how I got into this. I was buying whiskey myself. I was collecting whiskey. So, I think people recognize that and people seen that, and integrity has been, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody else, but I'm saying that for me, it was everything. When we made mistakes, which we did and still do, mistakes happen. I always come out and held my hands up and said, look, mea culpa, we got it wrong. We didn't do something right or something went wrong. In some instances, and I mean, if anybody wants to see a broken man, I think it's 2020, March 2020 or March 2021. I think it's 20 or 2021. I can't even remember now. But there's a video on the Irish Whiskey Auctions YouTube channel of me following probably our biggest ever internet meltdown where the system just absolutely, we were still using the old software. We couldn't build the new software quick enough. I mean, anybody who understands software, you build it, it's months and months that it takes, and we just couldn't build it quick enough. Was the challenge we had, and the guys in Belfast who have been my team since day one, just couldn't build it quick enough. But we got a lot of abuse. We got a lot of online harassment. My daughter was working here at the time. Katie was here at the time. Some of my staff got abuse. It was just horrendous, and that's the side effect of putting yourself out there and making yourself known to people, is that people think that they can abuse you. and I just didn't stand for it. And I came out fighting, and I said, I dare anybody to stand in front of me and say some of the things that was said. You know, I really do. I was
it was
mad.
horrendous.
And again, it wasn't about me. It was about Katie. It was about Jade. It was about the staff. Of, you know, we didn't make a mistake. The software let us down, and we came out and we held our hands up and tried to make it right, and did make it right. But I remember one guy in particular, like it was €20 was the difference in what he had originally bid and what he ended up paying ultimately, and the abuse that we received for that was just shocking. And I mean, it still sits with me, stuff like that, and that's why I've no tolerance. You know.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that vitriol at the time was from a cohort within the whiskey community that aren't really or weren't really whiskey fans? They were flippers, they were buyers and sellers. They weren't the community that you and I know. Like, we can point to 100 people around us right now, many of them on here tonight, that would be the community that we could all call if we were in trouble. Was it external to that was causing most of the bad feedback?
Yes and no, but I mean, it's a passion thing, and again,
yeah,
generally, and this is again the truth. Some of the people came back the next day and said, "Look, I'm sorry, I was out of order. I was wrong." And again, I'll take people at face value and say, "You know what? Apology accepted. I get it. I get it more than anybody else. Being a bloody redhead, passion runs deep in my veins." But you know, when you're passionate about something, and when it works, when everything works, it's great. But when it doesn't work, you know, it was aimed directly at us, and it was. I mean, some of the stuff that was said to us was just horrendous, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was. Again, I often thought about it, and when people thought that we were doing it deliberately or something like that to try to hold the prices up. And I mean, anybody who knows me knows that money's not my motivator. Money's not my, you know, it doesn't. As me and you can prove with our various businesses, that we don't make money out of it.
We're very good at proving that money isn't important.
It's not, and it's not genuinely. I mean, it's not the. I just want to share. The passion that I have with as many people as I can. And, you know. And
I can attest that working with Anthony on the whiskey bus, the whiskey cruise, our whiskey experiences that we host, and seeing Anthony espouse the virtues of the industry and of the locations we go to, the families that we work with, sharing his passion for them with our guests who come in from overseas as well. Tell me this, I've long maintained there's two things in Irish whiskey that some of us take for granted as just being things that we do, that I don't think the general whiskey public automatically thinks about. One is to pay shipping on a bottle of whiskey, because most people, when they're first in the world of whiskey, will go down to the supermarket and pick it off a shelf. They don't think that you will pay to ship a bottle, right? I don't think that's common in the general public. That's one belief I have. The second is that auctions generally are for people in green wax jackets bidding on furniture in the south of England from an attic with some, you know, long curly hair and fake tan or something. Tell us how approachable an Irish whiskey auction can be, and like, how do you dispel some of the myths around what an auction is?
One of the things, I mean, again, just that green wax jacket analogy is we're 35% women. We're 30 to 35% women users on our site. To me, it's something like that just shows that it is all inclusive. It's not enough. We're getting there. It's been growing and growing and growing, but I mean, we still see a huge amount of registrations on our website that are women. Why why is it that way? I don't know. I think people got very familiar with auctions because of eBay over the years, and I mean, I don't know whether eBay has waned slightly. Well, there's so many various different things now with Vinted and all these other platforms as well. The whiskey auction platform, I suppose, is a niche end of it. You know, it is a real niche element of the business. But again, it's not just one thing that people are looking for. It's gifts. It's, you know, again, a bottle of Zucconi in the auction, and a guy bought one, I think couple of auctions back, and he was buying it as a gift for a very good friend of his who was getting married, and that was their drink when it was they were at college. It's for ladies buying gifts for their husbands for Father's Day or for birthdays or for Christmases. It's people buying drinking whiskey. It's people buying investment whiskey. It's people selling investment whiskey. Unfortunately, one of the things we get quite a lot of is house clearances when somebody has passed away, that there's quite a few bottles of whiskey left, and what happens to them. And that to me has a massive tinge of sadness, because I think of me and I think of what happens to this lot when I pass away, and I hopefully there'll be a hell of a party and there's be a bit of drinking done. But I mean, other than that, it's been my sort of passion and my collection that has built that. So, does it just get sold off, or the kids hold on to it for years, or does Katie sell it and buy herself another new handbag and a holiday or a cruise ship or a ship, actually, I think.
Is that the next thing, is it?
Yeah.
If is it easy then? So we take it for granted, and I've been buying from you for years. For someone new to Irish whiskey as an auction prospect, is it as easy as setting up on eBay or Vinted or going online and being able to be in the market to bid against whiskies? And is there anything different compared to auctions in other categories we might be familiar with?
I don't think so, Barry. I mean, I hopefully, for me and everything that me and you do together is about removing barriers from people. Let's remove the barriers from people talking to, the people that you get talking to. But for me, it's remove the barriers from people doing business with me or doing business with others. So again, for registering on the site, it's as simple as click up in the top corner, register as you would on any other website, name, address, contact details, all that sort of stuff. We do have a 2-step verification process, again, where you must verify your email address and your contact telephone number. Again, that was brought in as a security thing, but as an integrity thing, that we found that at some stages in the early days, we were getting people who were creating accounts and they were bidding away on stuff and then had no, wouldn't pay for the items, or they were trying to drive prices up or whatever. Whereas if they have to verify their points of contact, their email and their phone number, then, hopefully it's done. They do pay a €5 registration. And again, that's about, initially it was about age verification, that, people over 18 could register and pay for it. But then too, that it is part of the whole verification of identity, that there's a payment card linked to you and all that sort of stuff. But then once you're registered, I mean, and verified, you can bid away, and understanding it's the bigger challenge. And I mean, again, people sort of jump in the deep end and, they start bidding away, and I'll pay €1,000 for that. And they perhaps had no intention of doing it, or didn't really understand that there's a commission involved. Now, surely anybody who's involved with auctions knows that there is an auctioneer's commission. I mean, we've one of the lowest, I think, in the industry, completely, full stop. I mean, all the UK auctions have all moved to, I think, 12.5%, some of them up to 15%. We're still at 10%. We haven't increased our commissions since we began in 2018. So, look, we have a how-to guide. Sinead is really, really good at sort of creating that, documenting that process, and hopefully describing it to people. But again, it is a relatively simple process, and selling is the same. Again, we have a platform of depots dotted around Ireland where people can literally walk in and submit their bottles, give the bottles to the depot, and they get a receipt for the bottles, and we get them back here and we process them. So hopefully it's as simple as any other platform,
And when I think about the fears I might have as a newbie to auctions, it's like, I remember when I was young, going to an auction with my parents, and my parents said, whatever you do, don't put your hand up to your mouth in the auction room for fear they'll think it's a bid, don't sneeze, don't cough. And I think the same thing is online. Will I maybe end up losing my money? How do I do it? But like what you have in place is that you can set a maximum bid,
Yeah.
and it'll never go. It might not ever reach that, but it certainly can't ever go above it.
Yeah. And you have to click. When you bid, you type in the amount, and it's not a case of enter and it flies. You have to click bid. We're toying with the idea of putting a double click system.
Oh yeah.
It slows it down. It can be an inconvenience. But even things like, say, and prime example, like you say somebody goes to put in €100, so the current bid is €50, and they're willing to pay a maximum bid of €100 for that item, but they accidentally type in €1,000. We've got a warning that will come up and say, this is more than double the current bid. Are you sure you want to pay this bid? So again, it gives them a chance. Even if they did accidentally say yes, £1,000, and the bid's still at €50, they can go back to €100. They just type in €100 now again. You can undo your maximum bid.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
You can undo it down to what the current bid is. So say exactly that you bid €50, but you placed €100 bid. And again, people don't trust that system, and that's probably one of the things that still baffles me, that people think that I'm sitting at home thinking, well, I'll outbid that person and I'll bid that person up. I'm telling you, I've got bigger problems to fry on an auction. I'm worried about, is somebody going to pay $5 or more for a bottle? So the integrity is there and the trust is there, hopefully, that people can bid on a bottle and it goes to, if they exactly as you said, if you bid €100, but the auction ends at €60, then you get that bottle at €60. Even though you bid €100, you get it at €60. So,
safety measures. And the other safety in place is the anti-sniping, so that somebody can't come in a second or two before the end of the auction, steal the bottle. Every bid in the last couple of minutes, right, extends the auction for that bottle until such time as somebody drops out from the bidding against each other.
There's not an auction that ends. And I mean, I wouldn't say we've had one auction end since 2018 that we don't get an email saying there's something suspect about your site. The auction was supposed to end at 7 o'clock, and I put in my bid at 4 seconds to 7 o'clock, and yet the person, it extended the clock and the person got the bid back. And I'm going, yeah, if you had read how to bid, you would have explained all of that. And it's something we've literally had from day one. It is called anti-sniping. They do have it in eBay. That's why I'd be surprised when people don't know about it. But we've it longer than most. And the reason why we've it longer, we understand people's lives, is that you're in an auction platform. And as you said, you put up your hand and you place a bid, and the auctioneer goes, and that man placed the bid, and next person places a bid, and he goes, final call, going once, going twice, going 3 times. So you've had ample opportunity to place another bid if you wanted to do that. That's not the same online, because I'm not standing with a gavel on a Sunday night, and we're all not looking at each other. So you could be putting the kids to bed, you could be out with friends, you could be doing anything. You'll receive an email to say that you've been outbid, or a notification if you have your notifications turned on the browser, and you'll receive a notification that you've been outbid. So it takes a few seconds for you to go onto the app or to come away from whatever you're doing, to log back in and to place that bid. So we have a system where any bid placed in the last 10 minutes, so if from 6:50 on a Sunday night, on this Sunday night, any bids placed after 6:50, it ends, it extends that time, that clock, by 20 minutes. So you've then got till 7:20 to come back if somebody places a bid in the last seconds or last minutes. But again, I don't think there's an auction that we don't get an email saying, these are traders and you're doing that to get more money, and you're doing this. And RTFM.
What's RTFM? I suppose that's the joy of being in the people business, isn't it? You have to deal with people, no matter what. You've had some great wins and successes over the years, like you've been in the news for selling the oldest bottle of whiskey in Ireland, most expensive bottle of whiskey in Ireland. You've had some rarities. You've had extraordinary amounts of money paid for bottles. I mean, hundreds of times what they went for at retail at the height of things, thinking about things like Middleton Very Rare 1988s and things like that. Does it surprise you still when you see certain things going for big money? Do you anticipate it? Do you expect it? Do you get surprised anymore at what you see?
Yeah, still do. I mean, there's so many. I mean, and again, I'm a bit like Rain Man in some aspects of that. I can recite off things like the Writer's Tears collection up the top there. The very first one of that is the 2011 one. Comes in this lovely folder, open folder. It was €85 to buy in 2011. The last one we sold, I think, was €2,400. So again, multiples of it was an 88 Middleton. We had one here that it was 42 punt back in 1988, a bottle of Middleton Very Rare. The record, I think we've sold one at €30,600.
It's incredible.
It's mind-boggling, but they're not the ones. And I mean, again, when I first came into the industry, we knew that the Middleton 88 was the unicorn bottle. It was very, very rare. But I said literally only last week when we were doing our videos ahead of our auction beginning, I said that we've actually sold more 1988 by a multiple of 2 or 3 than we have of a 2011 Writer's Tears cast strength. So
right.
You've bottles like that are just so rare. But then you've things like ordinary bottles of Jameson that were $20 in the shop, you know, a couple of years ago, that were a special edition for a football team or something like that, selling for €300 and €400. The Zacconi, as I said, it was a spirit drink that was a favorite with college students. It's sort of similar to Southern Comfort. Katie, I think, recollected that it used to be on the local nightclub in Dundalk for something like €2 a drink, and it was mixed with Coke or something like that. Not cocaine, but Coca-Cola. And it sells for €300 and €400. So there's things like that still catch me off guard. I mean, there's a beautiful crock in this month's auction, and again, it's currently at €2,000. It's mind-blowing. I mean, this really is mind-blowing.
Well, you said many times it only takes 2 super committed people on the day bidding against each other, and a completely random 2 people coming together that don't know about each other when they start the bidding to drive something up. And that might be a flash in the pan. I've seen some prices, like, because you can research old prices that have been commanded over the years on your site, and you'll see examples of a complete aberration one month of something that's 2 or 3 times more than it was the next month or the previous month.
Yeah. And the really scary ones where there's more than 2. The 2, there'll be it's that mutually agreed destruction, you know, whereas they'll both sort of be quite thoughtful in their bidding. But when there's 3 involved, it's no holds barred, and they're the ones that truly scare me, because they're the ones that, like, something that should be, as you say, you know, historically would have been €100, €200 bottle goes for €1,600, and you're just going like, what happened there? And look, we're all human, I think, or I think people who are in these games, I mean, there's a bit of the I'll not be beaten scenario, or I'll not back down. That's my bottle, and I'm going to get it no matter what. So people just keep going. There is always, and without a shadow of a doubt, there is always some buyer's regret, I'm sure, the following morning, perhaps, when somebody realizes that they've just spent or overspent or stuff like that. We have, and I don't know whether this will shock you or not, but we have had scenarios where a partner has found out what a bottle was paid for, and we'll get a phone call going, I have to back out of this. This is divorce, or I buy the bottle. So, you know, Anthony, please save my marriage. We rescind that bid or something like that. So look, again, we're not animals. We don't try and hold the gun to everybody.
But don't overuse that excuse that you're going to get divorced every auction and reach out to Anthony.
No. We've had a fair few sick grannies and stuff like that. And again, I do reiterate to people, I mean, you know, we can see all the bid history. We've got massive logging systems that logs it all, that logs when the bid was placed, how it was placed, what it was placed from. Oh, the kid, I left my phone open and the kids placed the bid. And I mean,
Yeah.
because it was 11:30 at night, and I could see that you'd been bidding on the same thing the day before. So that's either one to have all that.
Anthony keeps records of grandmothers passing away too, and how many grandmothers you told.
Constantly looking on RIP.ie. Yeah, absolutely.
I get people quite often reach out to me asking what a bottle's worth, and I always say, haven't a notion. It's not my business, but reach out to Irish Whiskey Auctions, because one of the things you've been doing since day one is just valuing bottles for people free of charge, or giving them a guide on what you think on the right day could command.
Yeah, that's a big thing. But again, we've got the data there. So we done a change literally, I think it was about 4 months ago. We used to put in a guide price, where we actually put in a guide price ourselves. So whichever of the team here was processing the bottle would look at previous bidding activity on the bottle and previous sales of it and use that as a guide price. Wasn't always right. We got a fair bit of flack over that of, oh, why did you say it was worth €200 when it sold for €100? Well, again, there's anomalies. They are live auctions. But what we've done now is we've moved it to literally our data. So our data, there's probably not a lot of bottles that we haven't sold over the years. So the data now dictates the guide price. So when you go on and you look at a bottle of Middle and Very Rare 2024, down at the bottom you can see price history, and it'll show you the graph of what it sold for and when it was sold for, and if there was multiples of the same. And again, it's all, there's so many variables that affect the auctions as to you know, people's bidding on it, but also, you know, if there's multiples of the same bottle in an auction, or if it was sold. I mean, again, just another prime example for you. We've had scenarios where a bottle last month would sell for €1,000, and then we get another person would come in with another version of that bottle and say, well, I want €1,000, and I'm going, well, just because it sold for €1,000 last month doesn't mean, because the person that wanted it has it, and they're no longer they're not going to buy another one just to make you get your price. So, you know, that's a diminishing return as well for bottles as well.
How many days are left in the current auction? 3, is it?
3 Sunday. So what are we on Thursday night? Ends on Sunday night at 7 p.m. As I say, it starts to end at Sunday night at 7 p.m. The activity starts to ramp up Saturday evening, and then you start to get it, and then Sunday night is just, I mean, again, I can only imagine what, you know, Ticketmaster's website must be like, because it's just getting our servers slammed.
There's great value too to be found. Like you can filter and search the auction for brands. You can organize it by price, by most recent bids, popularity, but I'll often look at 2 factors. One is sorted by highest price, what are the whiskies commanding the big money, but then you go down and you look at the lowest price, and you might notice sometimes an hour before the end of an auction that there's a couple of bottles that might not have had any bids on them at all. They might be €20, and you might be able to pick up a decent bottle for half the retail price because no one was interested that month. So I've picked up quite a few under retail value. So that's the other side of the auction that I think maybe isn't as obvious to people.
Yeah, and again, it's one of them things that I don't think I'll ever understand. I mean, people do get tunnel vision. You know, we'll have 4 bottles, and I'll just take, for example, a Middle and Very Rare 2025, and we normally could have 10, 15 of them, but say we have 4 bottles of it, and one bottle is, you know, by a multitude higher than everything else, and you're sort of going, why aren't those people looking at other, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
And why aren't they bidding in them? Or we get the sellers of the lower priced bottles fighting with us, going, well, how did their bottle go for €500 and mine only went for 350? And I'm going, I'd love to understand the psychology more, but I just, if I started,
it's like a fight, a constant fight with customers where occasionally an auction breaks out.
Yes, there is an element to that. But again, I mean, most people, it's just perhaps not understanding or seeing. I mean, again, we get people saying, oh, my item was further down the auction listings. And I'm going, well, that's not true, because ours actually, we've a randomizer on the site. So all the bottles, we genuinely set the top 30 items, usually the top 20 to 30 items. They're usually the ultra high valuable stuff. The charity items are always on the front row. They're always the first items. When you click into current auction, they'll always be there. But everything else is treated equally. And we've a randomizer. As you load the page, or each time you load the page, it should, in theory, load it. I mean, if it's a fresh, what happens sometimes is people will have a cache and it'll just load a cached version. But if you load that fresh, as in absolutely refresh the page, it should load it totally differently every time.
I would recommend, if you haven't chanced your luck on an auction yet, you've got 3 days to go to irishwhiskeyauctions.ie. Just register, or even if you don't register this month, play around with the site, browse it, and start to get familiar with it, how it works before you ever need to place a bid. And you might find some steals. Anything special that you're highlighting or keeping an eye on this month?
Not really. I mean, again,
No.
As an investment, I mean, I'll probably just give you a few tips there. I mean, those three that you have there on the underneath, the 25, the 26, and the 20th anniversary. That 20th anniversary is probably one of the most undervalued bottles in Irish whiskey. So the descendants of that is the Pearl. So that was released to celebrate 20 years of Midleton Very Rare. So in 2004, they released that as a celebration, as a 20-year celebration of Midleton Very Rare. It's in this gorgeous wooden box. It's got the 2 Waterford crystal glasses and a certificate with it. There's only 400 of them in the world, but they just don't get a massive amount. I mean, it's still 4.6, I think it's that.
4.2. 4.2. Yeah.
I think its reserve is in and around the 4.5, 4.6 mark. Whereas the Pearl, and there's a lot of them would have been opened and drank, and very few of them would remain. I mean, there's a lot of the premium whiskey bars would have a bottle of that open and have done over the years. A Pearl, there's only 117 bottles, but they go for 20 grand. The Ruby, which was the 40th anniversary, that's retail was 20 grand. So that's, to me, is a bargain. And then, as I say, either side, the 25 and the 26-year-old, they were limited edition runs of pot still from Midleton. Again, they are old legacy Midleton bottles that just don't. And again, you can even see that with the 88 and the 89 above it are priced, or the 89, 289s are 87 and 89, sorry, are priced considerably more than the 25 and the 26-year-old. And again, it is just one of them things that people don't,
Yeah.
Dream casks, Redbreast Dream casks, I think are a great buy. Great whiskey, as you know. But again, they're limited editions. That's the end of the series. As an investment bottle, I think they're a great one to have. I do have a couple of them myself. There's a 32 up there and stuff like that. But there's loads. I mean, there is. You're about to say, here's one I opened earlier.
No, I just wanted to make sure I still had mine. I couldn't remember if it was on the shelf or not. Yeah, I've got some there too. You've been telling me about that Midleton 20-year-old for years, by the way. Even when it was a lot lower price than that, you were maintaining that was a great value. And I'm just sitting here nodding for years going, that's great, and doing nothing about it, while you continue to tell me it's a great investment.
Yeah, Mario. I mean, what do I have to do? Like, I mean, do you want me to buy it for you?
Could you not text me or something, or send a pigeon or something?
I mean, it is, and I mean, it depends on what you're. I mean, again, we always have, when people come to us with bottles, we'll always ask questions. I mean, you know, when if they're buying, why are you buying for? What, you know, what's the reason? Well, I'm buying it for the kids, so it's a long-term thing. Can you afford to put these bottles away and never worry about them again? Is it something that you might have to free up the money within a few years' time? Then, you know, this is the bottles that I'd recommend. And there's always conversations. And you can start collecting from as little as €100. I mean, the Writer's Tears cask strength series, they're only about 120, €130 to buy this year's version of it. So every year there's an annual release, and it's the type of thing that people can buy and put it away for their kids. And as I always say to people, it'll help with college, or it'll pay for a car, or it'll get rid of the bill at some stage. But then there's the opposite of, if you've already got a collection of whiskey, how about selling? The space is the challenge, as me and you both know. So do you get rid of the bottles and then, you know, just buy one bottle at €2,000 instead of 10 bottles that add up to €2,000? So there's loads of different ways, you know.
It's a rabbit hole that you could spend a lot of time and money, and maybe you should, going down. But very enjoyable. I love the hunt and the chase, and I love looking for bottles that I've never had, or old ones. I came across a couple of great ones recently that I got, a couple of Bushmills Millennium Cask that I think maybe Robert might have spoken about in a video, but rare, like single casks didn't make it to the public market. I picked up because people would never, how else would they ever get a chance to taste whiskies bottled just for private collectors?
And I mean, again, those are a great example. That's 1975 whiskey or 1982 whiskey. So that stuff was done, it was bottled for the millennium. You'll probably pick them up for about 200, 300 euros. It's a 25-year-old single malt from one of the best single malt distilleries in Ireland, in the world, if not. You know, so
I know.
A chance to be tasting a 25-year-old single malt for 200 or 300 euros, to me, is a bargain. And again, it helps, you know. I mean, again, we've always been lucky enough to be tasting older whiskies or aged whiskies. I mean, it helps you to recognize how much the distillation, and again, with the launch tomorrow of the consultation, the evolution is significant. It really is significant. I mean, what whiskies have, you know, old whiskies and Fanon and Boan are great, talking about vintage mash bills. But I mean, getting to taste those old ones of their time, or old paddies, or, you know, old Jamesons.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a brown label Jameson 15-year-old. And Lord God, whatever they were thinking at the time when they put it in a bottle, it's fairly abrasive whiskey, I think is the best way to describe it. But again, it's and to know what it is, and to know what what was happening at the time, understand the history of, you know, they were just literally desperate to sell anything at the time and to put anything in a bottle. So it was,
I know,
it was times for the industry.
Somebody asked me the other day, are there any whiskies out there that are on my bucket list to try that I haven't yet tried? And my answer was that it's the whiskies from yesteryear. It's those that I've never tried, like from the old Bow Street Distillery, from Preston's Distillery, from the old Cumber Distillery, things that will never ever be created again. They don't stack up technically to whiskies today, but they're not really supposed to. But they give us a chance to imagine what it was like to sit at a bar in 1940, order a whiskey, and know what it tasted like. That to me is very special.
But it doesn't even have to be that old. I mean, I know you will testify to this. I mean, the original Redbreast 15 compared to what we have now is a very different animal.
Mm-hmm.
It just is a different whiskey. The Jameson, the rarest vintage reserve, as you know. I mean, even those, the evolution of those through the years, from the 2007 up to the 2015 one, is, you know, it's a very different tasting one. I mean, there's so many out there. And I suppose auctions are the only avenue that you get an opportunity to buy them. I think one of the things we done is we introduced a discount for societies. And we done this deliberately. I got a bit of flack, as I always do when I do things like this. But we done it deliberately because I want the societies to be buying the old whiskies. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
no disrespect to any brand, but you can walk into any off-license or any liquor store anywhere in the world nearly and pick up a modern incarnation. There's very few of them that you can't pick up, but you can't pick up the old stuff. So
Right.
for societies to be tasting that and for to be doing, nights where they get to taste that, or maybe do it side by side, an old Jameson against a modern Jameson, an old Redbreast against a modern Redbreast, an old Bushmills against a modern Bushmills. I mean, there is modern 25-year-old Bushmills, so taste the Millennium Malt against the modern 25-year-old. Two totally different whiskies. So we discount code for societies. I don't know what it is off my head. Sinead will be able to remind me of that. But we do a discount code for societies. So any whiskey societies out there want to buy, they can create an account with us online. They buy through that account. It's only that account that the discount applies to. If I find people trying to flip bottles and all that, I just cancel it. If it's abused, it's lost. But I mean, I really do want societies to be tasting old whiskies and doing shared things. We've got festivals. I mean, again, the Belfast is coming up, but you've got, a lot of festivals now are incorporating old whiskey tastings into them as well, because that's what people want. They want the experience. Somebody should create a business around that, Irish whiskey experiences.
I imagine, listen, every time we get on a live stream, a business pops out of it, so we have to be careful what we talk about. A question here for you before we let you go. Simon has as many whiskies, I'd say, as you have there behind you. He's all the Method of Madness, serious amount of Redbreast and Midleton, most spot whiskies, a few mad ones. What's a good one to get into now?
As a collector, there's so many. Don't do what I do, and all the Dunvilles and all the Irishmen and all the Writer's Tears and all the Power single casks and chasing every collection there is known to man. I think people need to be more selective, and particularly now where maybe prices were higher, more selective in the buying. You don't need to be buying a full collection. In truth, a full collection will never give the return. You're only scratching your own itch. It will not give the financial return that you think it does. You attach some emotional collateral to it, or whatever that word is, that you put a value on it that's not really there. And it's not until, when people come to me now at sets, I'm usually recommending that they get split, because people are only looking for one or two of the bottles. They're not looking for full sets. Nobody's spending the money at the minute buying full sets. I mean, you could put together a full Midleton set at the minute for about 60, 70,000, whereas somebody was looking 120,000 for one. It'll never sell. So, individual bottles is the way to go, is that's where you've the chance of somebody bidding it up. But look, there's so many good brands out there. I mean, look at the Cologne Baron Tool sets. The new boys on the block, the Loch Masks and the Haskras and the, some people I know have gone the journey of trying to buy all the first editions from all the first distilleries. And again, that you don't have to do that today. It's something, as they keep coming up over auctions, you can buy the Connacht first batch, you can buy the Copeland first edition, you can buy, Hinch, you can buy, there's so many of them out there. But look, it's hard to look past Midleton. It's still that does well. And I'm loath to say it isn't the right word. I'm not loath to say it, but I just think the likes of the Writer's Tears, where this year's Writer's Tears, 2025 Writer's Tears, there was 1,200 bottles released. That's a very rare bottle. That's not the scale of Midleton. Dingles,
Dunville single casks,
great ones to be having. Again, the problem is real estate. Literally, the problem is real estate. It's just, we've also
it's almost as if
company. We've set up Irish whiskey storage. So if you want yours,
I was going to say, like, we run out of space. It just so happens somebody should start a business around that. Oh, I did. Go for it. Hawk it.
Yeah. We've done that, and we've set up. So again, it is one of the challenges for people. And again, insuring it in the house, because a lot of insurance companies won't insure your whiskey collection because it's essentially a bomb sitting in the corner of your room. So if you tell them about it, some of the insurance companies will actually load your policy, but they won't cover the items themselves. So we have a facility here. We have a vault where we can store it, and it's insured, and it's temperature controlled, and it's everything, you know. So there's things in it. There's things to be done.
We could talk all night. Is there anything we missed that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so, Barry. I think it's like, I mean, again, rare bottles. Anything with a number. If I'm pointing people at things, I usually say anything with a number. So like, if the like of the Bushmills 44-year-old, only 40 bottles of it. The Writer's Tears, only 1,200 bottles of it. The Irishman, Dingle. I mean, all of these Dingles would be limited editions. The Powers single casks are all limited editions. So there's so many to do it. Support the new brands. Lochrie, I mean, there's a bottle of Lochrie, 112 bottles, only bottle of 110 out of 112. There's so many. Support the small brands. We've learned that over with the Whiskey Bus and with the Whiskey Experiences. Your spend makes such a difference to the brands. It's huge. So, you know, think carefully. Instead of just buying a generic bottle of whiskey off the shelf, you know, think carefully where you're spending your money, and it really does make a difference to the smaller brands, the Dahi O'Connells, the Brendans, the Colognes, the Haskells, the family-run businesses. It makes such a huge difference to them.
You're right, and we met a few of them tonight, a few family businesses tonight, 3 family businesses, and we'll meet more next month. Anthony, appreciate you being our guest of honor tonight for Irish Whiskey Night. Maybe we'll talk about one of your other 9 offshoots of your whiskey business on another night. Hubs, wines, storage, insurance, transportation, buses, cruises. We might we'll have you back for 6 more months in a row to cover everything.
Next episode, it shall be. Shipping was the one thing. I mean, again, we did briefly mention it earlier on. I mean, we're back, baby, I think is the only thing that I can say. We've got it dialed in. We've got it working. Again, there is a price to pay. We eventually had to we hadn't increased our prices since we began. Every morsel of our cost had gone up. Not besides the tariffs and all that stuff. But I mean, even at the minute, the fuel surcharge went from 21% to 56%, was, you know, for all our international shipping and for our domestic shipping. So it is the one thing, but we've got it right. We've invested heavily in getting the packing right. We've so many good partners now with brands that we do the shipping for. People to be surprised when they get an email saying I'm getting a parcel from Irish Whiskey Auctions, and they're thinking, I never bought anything from Irish Whiskey Auctions, but it's one of our many partners that we do the shipping for, and we're happy to do that because again, my sole goal is about let's get as much Irish whiskey in as many people's hands as possible, because, you know, your spend with Carnlough, you know, creates a job down there. Your spend with Cologne creates a job up there, and all, you know, whatever people need. If anybody ever needs a bottle of whiskey, another one of my businesses called the Whiskey Concierge, we'll source it for you. We'll help you get it. Don't worry about that. We'll get the bottles to you. So,
I have one for you to get. Gilby's Crock of Gold, 1960s.
We had one of them. Actually, that didn't go that mad, if I recall correctly, when it sold. The plain label with a bit of green on the bottom.
Yeah, I tasted it last week in Killarney. It's on the shelf of the bar. Hilliard's Bar in Killarney has a bottle on the shelf, and it's open and it's available to try. In Killarney,
it'll be sold out now. And I know people
Hopefully.
have that, the wee honey holes where they've, a bottle of something that's open behind the bar, reasonably priced. They don't want to tell people where it is.
Yeah. I've screwed up here. I'll be editing this in post-production.
Yeah. That's it. Look, there's loads out there. There is. We'll find it for you, Barry. If I can find it, I'll find it.
Okay. I'd be interested in one and opening it with people. Listen, thank you, and continued success to you and Katie and the team. And thanks, you provide a fantastic service. I benefit from it greatly myself with my events, and lots of the people in the audience are great fans as well. There was no rabble-rousers in the audience tonight. Nobody didn't like you, and if they did, they didn't tell us. So that's a success.
We'll get an email about it later on, telling me what a difficult human being I am. But I'm all right. My thick skin now, just
thanks for joining us, and sure, look, we'll be chatting to you shortly again.
continued success, Barry. Continued success, sir. Thank you.
Cheers, Anthony. Talk to you later, buddy. All the best.
Bye-bye.
We're learning it all tonight. 2 hours and 37 minutes of Irish Whiskey Night. This is like COVID era programming when we do our 4-hour lock-ins. Shinay, folks, that's it. That's it now. We can't do any more. We can't do any more. That was Irish Whiskey Night. See you on July 30th for our next Irish Whiskey Night. We'll have 3 great whiskies. We'll be announcing them in the next week on our next 3 Drams tasting kit. So if you'd like to get involved with a tasting kit, let us know. We'll be able to get you one, 3drams.com. There was a comment earlier about someone saying, I wish you could ship these kits to the USA. We do too. The cost, not any profit made in it, but the cost if we was to ship one kit to the US is about $80 in shipping on top of the 30 odd euros. So about $120 to get this to you, to get 3 samples of whiskey to you, and they probably won't get to you before the event. That's just the nature of how things have changed in the world of shipping over the last 2 years. Certainly the last year, it's made it very difficult for us to do US shipping from Ireland. Very, very difficult. It can be done, but at great cost. So we've had to pull our US shipping for 3 Drams because it's just not feasible, and people are getting upset at the costs of it. So just not something we can offer, sadly. But we do have exclusive whiskey releases from Stories and Sips that we can ship to the US, and we try and absorb as much of the shipping costs as we can on that and bring the shipping right down. So stay tuned for that. We'll have a whiskey from Boan Distillery this year. We'll have a whiskey from Two Stacks Distillery yet this year with Stories and Sips. And if you're a 3 Drams member, you'll get access to those as well. What else can I tell you? Nothing else. I'm worn out. I'm worn out from it in a good way. But listen, thanks a million for a great night and for your support and for tuning into Irish Whiskey Night. More coming next month. We'll have 3 whiskey makers and at least 1 special guest joining us in July, last Thursday of every month. It's free to join. If you want a tasting kit, go to 3drams.com, sign up, and we'll send you a tasting kit every month until he tells us to stop. And that's it. Can't say fairer than that. Hope you had a good night. Hope you made some new whiskey friends and some new whiskies to get on your radar to purchase. I'll send out an email tomorrow with links to all of our whiskies tonight, discount codes for Mad Marcus and for the Black's Distillery whiskey, and links to purchase the Boan whiskey as well from them as well. So that's it. I think we've had a great night. Really enjoying this. So tell your friends about it, and you can all meet online last Thursday of every month and raise a glass together and learn a bit about our wonderful Irish whiskey. All right, folks, sláinte and have a good night.